ladies and gentlemen. My name is Judge Angela Duncan. I'd like to welcome everyone to mock trial. I'm going to go over the rules briefly and then give everybody an opportunity to introduce. All right, I want to make sure that everybody understands, first of all, and I know you guys are nervous, and that's okay. I want to make sure that everybody understands the purpose of this event, and that is to learn about the practice of law and what it's like to be involved in a trial. We have several people that are here with us today. They're all attorneys. I'm actually a judge here in Gwinnett County, and I volunteer for this every year, and I really, really enjoy being a part of this program. And I want to thank everybody that's here, not just the kids, but the parents that are here too. The time that you give us to spend with your children, both the coaches and everybody else, it really is an honor and a privilege, and it's very, very special. Because these are the moments that you guys are going to remember, believe it or not, when you get to be our age, which is 29. Okay? All right. So thank you very much. Number two, if there are any video cameras or recording devices, are there any in the courtroom? Does anyone have any objection to the recording devices?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
I want to remind everyone that there is no communication allowed between competing team members or others in the courtroom until once the trial is concluded. Also, please make sure that all cell phones, electronic devices in the courtroom, make sure that they are turned off. If you are a team member or seated at the tables at the front of the courtroom, please make sure you do not have any devices out. If you are an audience member, participant, coach, please make sure that you have your devices are on silent. If you do need to answer those phones or devices in case of an emergency, please make sure you step outside the courtroom to do so. I'm going to make sure that everyone here is someone that is associated with the participating team or an official. If there's anyone that is not associated with the teams in this round or competition officials, I'm going to have to ask you to please step outside the courtroom. I'm going to make sure that everyone here is aware that they should not be wearing or displaying anything that may identify the team in any way, shape, or form as to what school or division you are in. And that goes for parents as well. And please make sure you don't say which school team that you're associated with. That way we make sure, that's how we basically make sure that no one here is biased in any way. I need student timekeepers for each team. We have student timekeepers? That's you guys?
Yes.
Excellent. And have the teams exchanged their rosters?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
And I have a roster, it looks like, from trial squad from F.
Yes, Your Honor. May we deliver them to both the jurors and you?
Yes, please. Thank you, sir. All right, next I'm going to ask the teams if you would please introduce the participating members by name and role. And if we could start with the prosecution first.
Your Honor, my name is Daniel Freshler. I will be conducting the direct examination of Robert Concord. The cross-examination examination of Addison DeWitt. I'll be delivering the closing statement.
My name is Afisa Rahman. I will be directing Detective Jaden Gordon and crossing Vicky Stewart.
My name is Sabina Yosef, and I'll be delivering the opening statement and also conducting the direct examination of Sam Malloy, and I'll also be conducting the cross-examination of Phoenix Buffet.
Very well.
My name is Gloria Adiola, and I am Detective Jaden Gordon.
Your Honor, my name is Imani Ross, and I am Robin Concord.
Your Honor, members of the jury, my name is Inara Kilani and I'm Sam Malloy.
Good evening.
Good.
Thank you. Be seated. And for the defense,
Your Honor, members of the jury, my name is Luke McGarren, and today I'm the lead counsel for the defense. Today I will be conducting the cross-examination of Sam Malloy, the direct examination of Phoenix Buffet, as well as a closing argument.
Good evening, Your Honor, members of the jury. I am Kayla Talley, and today I will be conducting the cross-examination of Jaden Gordon and the direct examination of Addison DeWitt.
Good evening, Your Honor, members of the jury. My name is Martin Lacha, and today I will be delivering the opening statement, the direct examination of Pookie Stewart, and the cross-examination of Robin Concord.
Good evening, Your Honor, members of the jury. My name is Jeanette Thatcher, and today I am Addison DeWitt.
Good evening, Your Honor, members of the jury. My name is Briasia Ackman, and today I will be Phoenix Buffet.
Good evening, Your Honor, members of the jury. My name is Konstantin Stepniewska, and today I am Vicky Stewart.
thank you. Please be seated. Welcome to everyone. All right, from the prosecution, do we have any pretrial motions that need to be covered?
Yes, Your Honor. I'll be asked to have the freedom to walk about the well of the court. And,
Permission granted.
And the freedom to move the podium about.
Permission granted.
And where do we place tenant and evidence?
Things that are tendered in evidence need to be placed on the shelf right below, right there.
Okay, thank you. And we ask that all the witnesses be sworn in collectively.
I will do that. Anything else?
No, that's it.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Anything from the defense?
Yes, Your Honor. Do you prefer that we ask permission to approach the witness?
I would.
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, it is my understanding that under Rule 19, all objections and responses should be handled in open court for educational purposes. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
I have no other pretrial matters, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. All right, I do have one enlarged exhibit. This would be for the prosecution. Mr. Freshley?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. We can have those exhibits placed where both parties have access to them. Do you leave it down here? Thank you. All right, is the prosecution ready?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is the defense ready?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. If all witnesses in this matter would please stand. And please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this trial be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? All right, thank you. You put your hands down, please be seated. Oh, and I apologize. If you guys would please stand up one more time. Do you further solemnly swear and affirm that you will conform to the facts and rules of the mock trial competition?
I do.
Thank you. I apologize. That was my oversight. All right, the statement please start. The prosecution.
Good evening, Your Honor, members of the jury. My name is Sabina Yosef, and along with my co-counsel, Nafisa Rahman and Zain Freshley, I have both the honor, the privilege, and the responsibility of representing the citizens of the state of Georgia. Here today, we're not trying to find out who killed Arl Parker. Instead, we are here to determine who it is that wanted him dead. We expect all the evidence to show you that that person responsible is sitting right here in the courtroom today, and that is the defendant, Addison DeWitt. The individual who suffered from this abominable act was Arl Parker. He was an individual who was dedicated to running his successful business, the restaurant, Hole in the Wall. An individual who was well on his way to becoming the local bar joint for college students and others who wanted to have a good time. However, on May 26, 2017, he was shot twice in the head and murdered. In 2007, Arl Parker moved onto Miltonville Square alongside other businesses, such as Anamato Pizza, which was previously owned by the defendant, Addison DeWitt. However, ever since he moved onto the square, the two constantly had conflict, resulting in multiple violation complaints. However, since his business was thriving, Parker eventually ended up buying out the defendant's building, and the defendant had to leave. One might think, okay, it's a sad story. It is what it is. But no. 1 week later, Parker was murdered. We expect the evidence to show you today that it is Addison DeWitt who encouraged and procured Randy DeQual to be her hitman and end the life of Arl Parker. Today, taking the stand will be Detective Jaden Gordon. She is a veteran uniform officer for both the City of Atlanta and Miltonville Police Department. She has had extensive years of training in this field and can attest to years of experience. Today, she'll be testifying to evidence found at the crime scene, witness testimony, and ballistic reports. Also taking the stand today is Robin Concord. She is a graduate from Cornell University and a veteran of the Navy. As a journalist for the Miltonville Times, she writes reviews on local newspapers and can tell us of her multiple negative interactions with the defendant. She'll also be telling us of an incredibly suspicious conversation the defendant had with an unidentifiable man, later identified as Randy DeQual, the killer. Last on the stand today is Sam Malloy. Sam is an astonishingly hardworking individual. She has overcome much adversity in her lifetime. After suffering from an injury which put a standstill on her softball career, she received a degree in marketing and opened up her own bar called Sam's Old Town Tavern. Today she'll be telling us of a conversation she had with Randy DeQual that entails the revealing details of the defendant and DeQual's plan for Parker's diabolical murder. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the defense may try to make you believe that it is Sam responsible for all of this. However, they will say that she is a drunk, they will say that she is forgetful, they will say that she's unsuccessful. However, all of these claims stand on a pillar of sand. Sam's business is currently still up and running, and yes, like you and I, she has made many mistakes in her past. However, ever since then, she has recovered from them, she has learned from them, she has grown from them. And how she was all those years ago cannot attest into her character today, especially in this time period in consideration. Today we are confident that with the evidence given to you, together with the law by the court, that you will find Addison DeWitt is guilty for hiring Randy DeQual to take away and end the life of Arl Parker. Thank you.
Opening for the defense.
And we agree with the prosecution about one thing today. There is a restaurant owner in this courtroom who hired Randy DeQual to kill Addison DeWitt. The evidence will show it is not our defendant. Now, the prosecution has the burden of proof today, which means they will have to prove, beyond a reasonable doubt, that Addison DeWitt paid Randy DeQual to kill Arl Parker. But they're not going to be able to do this, because the truth is not on their side. We, as a defense, don't have to prove anything today, but we will show you the truth. Members of the jury, my name is Martin Lotchev, and today, along with my co-counsel, it is my privilege to represent Addison DeWitt. This is Addison. She's lived in Miltonville for decades now, and until last year, she owned and ran the best pizzeria in town. Now, the prosecution just told you that Addison wanted Parker dead, out of desire for revenge. She's going to testify today, even though the law doesn't require her to, because she wants you to know what really happened. She will tell you that it was Sam Malloy, and the evidence will show that. Now, you heard about a meeting at Carly's coffee shop between Addison DeWitt and Randy Jaqual. But what the prosecution didn't tell you is that the entire reason that meeting even existed was because of Sam Malloy. And speaking of Sam Malloy, he's testifying for the prosecution today. The evidence will show that he is untrustworthy. The evidence will show that Sam Malloy introduced Randy Jaqual to Addison DeWitt. And the prosecution expects you to believe that on the night of the murder, Randy Jaqual waltzed into a random bar across the street, sat down, and told all the gory details of a murder he had just committed to a complete stranger who happened to be Sam Malloy. You also heard about a deck fire and some flyers. Well, where do those flyers come from? You'll hear from Phoenix Buffet, who was working for Sam around the time Mr. Parker died. She will tell you that she saw a stack of Automata pizza flyers in Sam's Old Town Tavern before the fire, and that they were gone the day after. She'll also tell you about Sam's computer being logged into Gulp reviews as D. Chambers, and that Sam had posted very bad reviews for both Hole in the Wall and Automata Pizza. And you're going to hear from Pookie Stewart, who knew Addison and Mr. Parker, and knows Sam Malloy as well. She will tell you about those Automata Pizza flyers in Sam's Tavern as well. And she will tell you that Randy Jaqual, who Sam maintains he didn't know before the night of the murder, was the one who was gathering those flyers for Sam. So how did the prosecution make such a grievous error? Well, they're going to call up Detective Jaden Gordon. And the evidence will show Detective Gordon conducted a woefully inadequate investigation that wasn't thorough at all. Where, for example, is the investigation of Parker's wife or his girlfriend, Miss Ramirez? And even Detective Gordon will tell you that he suspected Sam Malloy during his investigation. And you'll see that a huge part of the prosecution's case is going to rely on Detective Gordon taking Sam's word about conversations Sam had with Randy Jaqual, who, by the way, pled guilty to lying to the police less than 3 years ago. And then they're going to put up Robin Concord now. You just heard about Robin. She's a local food reviewer. Pay close attention to what Robin has to say about many details in this case, as opposed to what Detective Gordon has to say. And you'll find they don't match up at all. But what Robin will tell you is that Sam Malloy was rooting for this fight between Addison and Parker. So members of the jury, what does it all mean? Well, at the end of this trial, my co-counsel Luke McGarren is going to stand in front of you, and he's going to help you make sense of everything you've seen and heard. And by that time, you will know that that Addison DeWitt committed no crime, that it was Sam Malloy, and because of this, the prosecution's case rests on lies, deceit, and manipulation. The prosecution has a very high burden of proof today, members of the jury, but they're not going to satisfy it with their case built on those lies, that deceit, and that manipulation. Therefore, at the end of this trial, we are confident you will know that the only rational verdict in this case is not guilty. The writing's on the wall. Thank you.
Call your first witness, please.
Prosecution calls Detective Jaden Gordon to the stand.
Ms. Gordon, please come forward.
Please state your name for the court.
My name is Detective Jaden Gordon.
How long have you been in law enforcement, Detective Gordon?
Well, currently I've been in the Miltonville Police Department for almost 4 years, and prior to that I was in the City of Atlanta Police Department for 10 years.
And you're post-certified, right?
Yes, I am.
Could you describe for the jury what the work of a patrol officer entails?
Yes, I can. As a patrol officer, I would conduct preliminary investigations, gather evidence, make witness interviews, create reports, and testify in court proceedings.
And how does that differ from the work of a detective?
Well, detectives become more specialized and advanced in areas such as firearms, forensics, and criminal investigations.
Based on living in Miltonville, how would you describe the downtown area?
Oh, the downtown area was very diversified. It was full of university students, laborers, professionals, aspiring rock stars. You could see any of these people at any given time in Miltonville Square.
What made Miltonville Square such an attractive place?
Well, I would definitely say it was the food and restaurant scene. 3 of the top contenders in the area were Sam Malloy at Sam's Old Town Tavern, On Pizza, which was owned by the defendant, Addison DeWitt, and Hole in the Wall, which was of course owned by the late R.L. Parker. While these were all reasons of attractions, I would say the big attention grabber was the DeWitt-Parker rivalry.
Did this rivalry ever reach the police department?
Oh yes, the police department was constantly flooded with calls regarding improprieties at both locations. Once, there was a fire on the deck of On Pizza, and DeWitt wanted us to accuse Parker of this claim, but there was no evidence to support it.
Did this fire affect DeWitt's business?
Yes, it did. DeWitt's landlord ended up putting his building up, her building up for lease, and Parker ended up buying the building on May 1st, 2017. He ultimately closed On Pizza on May 19th, 2017, and the bar is now vacant.
Let's shift to the day of the murder. What happened on May 26th, 2017?
Well, I was called to Hole in the Wall at 10:23 p.m. in regards to a person shot call. When I arrived, I was led to the bar's office where I saw the body that was later identified as R.L. Parker.
What did you find in the office?
Well, I saw the body of R.L. Parker. He appeared to be slumped over his desk with 2 bullets in the back of his head as he'd been shot execution style. Also on the floor of the bar was the body of the dog Rags. Once their bodies had been removed, I was able to determine that the point of entry had been the alleyway window. Oddly enough, there was no glass on either side of that window.
Did you make any other conclusions that night?
Well, I was able to conclude that there was no motive for robbery, as nothing appeared to be stolen from the bar. Additionally, there appeared to be no motive of a struggle, as there were no defensive wounds on Parker.
How did you continue your investigation in the following days?
Well, actually, in the morning of May 27, 2017, I interviewed Addison DeWitt at the Miltonville Police Department. She said that she was probably there in regards to Parker's death, and at that point I began to get a little bit suspicious.
How so?
Well, it was less than 24 hours after the murder had occurred, so general details about the murder had not yet been released to the general public. Therefore, she shouldn't have had such information. When I questioned her about this, she simply said, "Good news travels fast," and then refused to say anything else for the rest of her interview. I ended up releasing her.
Objection narrative.
Can I move on with the witness?
Do you have a response to the objection, Kelly?
No response to the objection. I would just like to move on.
All right, the objection is sustained. I need to ask another question, please, ma'am.
It's okay. Did you interview any other witnesses after Addison DeWitt?
Yes, in fact, I interviewed other Hole in the Wall employees and also local columnists by the name of Robin Concord.
What information did Robin Concord provide?
Well, I learned from Concord that she had witnessed an altercation between DeWitt and Parker at the beginning of May. According to Concord, Parker had entered On Pizza and attempted to double DeWitt's rent.
Objection hearsay.
Your Honor, the witness is just telling the jury what information she received from Robin Concord based on her perception of her conversation with Robin Concord.
Would you like to cite a rule, counsel?
Yes. Sorry, rule number 801.
As I said, my witness is not saying, she's giving her testimony based on her own perception with her conversation with Robin Concord.
Her testimony, I believe, was that of what someone else told her. However, the officer is allowed to testify about what occurred during the course of her objection. So if you would rephrase the question, I'll overrule the objection.
Based on Robin Concord's statement to you, what did you conclude?
Well, in addition to an altercation between DeWitt and Parker at the beginning of May, I also learned from Concord that she had witnessed a conversation between DeWitt and an unidentifiable man who was later identified as Randy Jaqual.
Where did the case lead you next?
Well, the police department received a call from Sam Malloy, and she was able to provide to us details that hadn't yet been released to the press. She was able to describe in detail the murder of the dog Rags and also the fact that the murder weapon had been a .38 caliber revolver, so we knew she was a credible source.
What was Sam Malloy's relation, if any, to Randy Duquall?
Well, on the night of the murder, May 26, 2017, Randy Duquall entered Sam's Old Town Tavern and immediately told Sam everything that he had done that night.
Did you do anything given Sam Malloy's statement or statement?
Well, yes, I immediately obtained a search warrant of Randy Duquall's apartment.
Did you find anything at Randy Duquall's apartment?
Yes, I did, in fact. I found the .38 caliber revolver, which I identified as the murder weapon, as well as a box of ammunition. Ballistic reports showed that the ammunition matched not only the bullets found in the body of the dead dog Rags, but also the bullets found in Harper's own body.
Let the record reflect I'm now opposing counsel what has been pre-marked as Exhibit 4, like identification. Permission to approach witness.
Permission granted.
Do you recognize this document?
Yes, this is the murder weapon.
And how do you recognize it?
I obtained it through a search warrant of Randy Duquall's apartment.
Is this a fair and accurate representation of this document?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, it is now at this time that the prosecution would like to tender in what has been pre-marked as Exhibit 4 into evidence. The authenticity of this document has been stipulated.
Any objection?
Yes, Your Honor. Objection over relevance.
Your Honor, this was the murder weapon used to kill Arlo Parker. I was just, yeah,
All right,
it's
your
relevant to the case.
objection is overruled. It's admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Did you find anything else at Randy Duquall's apartment?
Yes, I found a record of Randy Duquall's phone bills.
Your Honor, please reflect that I'm now opposing counsel has been pre-marked as Exhibit 10 for identification. Permission to approach witness.
Granted.
Do you recognize this document?
Yes, this is the phone bill that I found in the apartment.
And is this a fair and accurate representation of the document?
Yes, it is.
It is now at this time the prosecution would like to tender in what has been pre-marked as Exhibit 10 into evidence. Its authenticity has been stipulated.
No objections, Your Honor. We would like the jury to see this document
You would like it to be published to the jury?
after my cost, please.
Yes, ma'am. It's admitted without objection.
And did you, what purpose did this, attaining this document serve?
Well, I saw that the last 3 calls on this had a terminating number of automatic pizzas. In addition to that, the last call, which was made on the night of the murder, lasted 3 minutes and 15 seconds, and the location placed Randy Duquall at Hole in the Wall at the time of the murder.
And after learning this information, what did you do next?
Well, I attempted to get DeWitt into the police department for follow-up questions, but then learned that she had left town immediately after our interview. I then obtained that information that said that she had gone to Ohio and to visit her parents and was now residing at her boyfriend's apartment, where I then arrested her.
What did you do after you had the defendant in custody?
I immediately obtained a search warrant of her personal and business banking accounts.
Let the record reflect I am now approaching opposing counsel that has been pre-marked as Exhibit 11. Permission to approach witness.
Granted.
Do you recognize this document?
Yes, I do. These are the bank records that I found.
Is this a fair and accurate representation of the document?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, it is now at this time that the prosecution would like to tender what has been pre-marked as Exhibit 11 into evidence. Its authenticity has been stipulated.
No objections, Your Honor.
Admitted without objection.
What information were you able to gather from these exhibits, these records?
Well, I learned from the records that on May 23rd, which was 3 days before the murder occurred, DeWitt had withdrawn a lump sum of $12,000 from both her personal and business bank accounts.
Based on all the information you gathered in your investigation, what did you conclude?
I was able to conclude that Addison DeWitt hired Randy Duquall to kill Arlo Parker.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Cross-examination.
Mrs. Gordon, you're a detective, as you said, correct?
Yes, I am.
And it's your job to investigate all cases thoroughly and clearly?
Yes, that is my job.
And you believe you did this in the investigation of the death of Parker, Arl Parker?
Yes, that is what the facts show.
And during your investigation, you said you talked with the girlfriend of Arl Parker, is that correct?
Yes, on the night of the murder I talked to her at Hole in the Wall.
In fact, you did not talk to her though. You were told by Officer Mooney what she had said.
Yes, I was.
And you also talked to the wife of Arl Parker, is that correct?
Yes, Mrs. Parker.
And you did not pull their bank records, did you?
No, I did not, as they were not on the scene of the murder when it occurred, so they had nothing to do with it.
But you didn't pull their phone records either, did you?
No, I did not.
So you don't know if they had any communication with each other before the night of this murder?
No, but I don't see how that pertains to the case whatsoever.
You don't see how how somebody who had an affair would be a motive for murder?
Objection, Your Honor, relevance.
I'm just showing how she did not have a clear and thorough investigation, not investigate all suspects to the best of her abilities.
I'll overrule the objection, but you need to connect the questions that you're asking her to the point that you're trying to make. You lay a proper foundation.
And you also talked to Robin Concord, is that correct?
Yes, I did.
And she told you about an encounter between Arl Parker and Addison DeWitt and on Monte Pizza, is that correct?
Yes, I learned that through an interview of her.
And she also told you about an interaction between Miranda DeQuell and Addison DeWitt, is that correct?
Yes, she did.
And she didn't tell you anything else?
No, she did not.
Okay, thank you. And you have said that after you talked to Addison DeWitt, she mysteriously disappeared, is that correct?
Yes, she left town immediately after our interview.
But she did come back of her own free will, isn't that true?
No, she did not actually. She went to Ohio and then only came back. She didn't come back. She went to her boyfriend's apartment where I then found and arrested her.
But you didn't need a court order to bring her back to the state, did you?
No, I did not, but she didn't come to the state. She went to the state to visit her boyfriend, not to come in regards to the case itself.
Okay. And you also talked to Sam Malloy.
Yes, I did.
And Sam Malloy, you knew that she lost money during the World Series, is that correct?
Yes, I did.
Objection, Your Honor, relevance. The financial situation of Sam Malloy has nothing to do with this case.
To provide, it is relevant because we are trying to show that Sam Malloy, the financial instability of Sam Malloy and his business provided a motive to eliminate the competition in his work.
And again, I'm going to have to direct you to lay a proper foundation before you ask the question. So I'll sustain the objection.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And as a police officer, you're aware that alcoholism can affect one's thought process, is that true?
As a detective, yes, I am aware of that.
And you're aware that Sam Malloy had drank heavily?
She had not necessarily drinking heavily, but she had taken a sip of a drink or two.
But you're aware she had a DUI once, is that true?
That was a DUI in regards to controlled substances, not alcohol.
You remember making a statement, is that correct?
Yes.
And in this statement, you swore to tell the truth?
Yes, I did.
Let the record reflect, I'm now approaching opposing counsel what has been previously marked, with Jaden Gordon's statement. May I approach the witness?
You may.
I'd like to direct your attention to line 166.
Your Honor, I would subject to the question, though the DUI of someone has nothing to do with the death of Arl Parker and who killed him.
This is not in regards to the DUI, this is in regards to the fact that you denied that Sam Malloy had a drinking problem.
You can use the previous statement to impeach the detective's testimony. So I'm going to overrule the objection.
And so on line 165, you had said, also had been reported that she being Sam Malloy, has an alcoholic problem.
Yes,
Did I read that correctly?
yes.
So you would say that Sam Malloy did in fact have an alcoholic problem?
She did have an alcohol problem, but I was talking about in regards to the DUI of controlled substances, and that has nothing to do with alcohol.
Okay, thank you. And you have, in regards to Exhibit 10, the phone records of Randy Jaqual, you have examined all of these numbers thoroughly?
Yes, I have.
And so you would be aware that this phone number right here is the phone number of Sam Malloy?
Yes. Or it is the phone number of Sam's old town tavern.
And so according to these records on April 14th, Sam's Tavern called Randy Jaqual.
Yes, as Randy Jaqual was a handyman, Sam likely needed some work done in his restaurant.
And you're aware that April 14th was 2 days before the death fire on Amana Pizza?
Yes, I'm aware of that, but there were also 3 calls that Randy made to On Pizza on the night of the murder.
Okay, thank you. And you're also aware that on on May 17th, Sam Malloy again called Randy Jaqual.
Yes, I'm aware of that.
And that is 2 days before Anamana's Pizza's lease was expired because of our partner.
Yes, but I don't see how that has anything to do with the case at hand.
Okay, thank you. And again, Sam Malloy called Randy Jaqual on May 22nd. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And that is 4 days before the murder?
Yes, 4 days before the murder.
Thank you. And when you talked to Sam Malloy, you couldn't help but think that he knew too many details.
Yes, I did have my suspicions originally, but once I further investigated her financial, I was able to put these suspicions aside.
But you couldn't help but think that maybe perhaps she could have been involved as well.
Yes, but as I said, after I investigated her financial reports, I put these suspicions aside.
No further questions.
Any read you ready?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you, ma'am. You can step down. State, call your next witness, please.
The state calls Robin Concord to the stand. Please state your name.
My name is Robin Concord.
And what do you do for a living, Ms. Concord?
I'm a food lover first and a writer second. I get to combine the two at the Miltonville Times with my blog, Food Emoji. I also volunteer with the Culinary Arts program at Miltonville Vocational Tech.
And what do you do at the Miltonville Vocational Tech?
I spend my time instructing a food management class, trying to help inexperienced owners from making crucial rookie mistakes.
And do you have any personal experience in the restaurant business?
Of course I do. I studied food management and hospitality at Cornell University. I even had a food business of my own, but unfortunately it went belly up in the 2008 recession.
And how did you get into writing, Ms. Concord?
Well, after serving in the Navy, I moved down to Miltonville and got a job as a columnist for the Miltonville Times, where I was able to incorporate my knowledge and experience in food business.
And what does your job entail?
I go and dine at all the local restaurants, writing reviews on these eateries and putting it in the Miltonville Times.
And what do you include in these reviews?
I tell people where to go, where not to go, discuss and rate the quality of the service, and discuss other factors that relate to an excellent dining experience.
And how would you rate the businesses in Miltonville overall?
Overall, Miltonville is a great venue with amazing restaurants and owners. My job allows me to form great relationships with the workers and owners, but there are some restaurants that, like Anamana Pizza, that I wouldn't be caught in.
And what is your disliking of Anamana Pizza?
I don't really respect how it's run as a business, which is mostly the fault of the owner, Addison Dewitt.
And do you see Addison Dewitt today?
Yes, she is right there in the black jacket.
Does the record reflect the witness has identified Addison Dewitt as the defendant?
So noted.
Did you have any interactions with Addison DeWitt?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Did you have any interactions with Addison DeWitt?
Yes. DeWitt was, DeWitt was a real piece of work. She kept trying to get me to write a fluff piece for her no-good restaurant, but I refused because I only write the truth.
And were there any other interactions you had with Addison DeWitt?
Unfortunately, yes. I'm sure you've all heard of the Parker DeWitt rivalry. I mean, that's why we're all here, isn't it? Anyways, I've been covering this rivalry for my food emoji audience, so naturally I had to be around DeWitt.
Could you expand on this Parker DeWitt rivalry?
Yes. Parker and DeWitt just did not like each other. There was a lot of sniping and griping online, including in the comment section of my column. DeWitt kept trying to attack Parker's consumer base, even though Parker had a completely different consumer base than DeWitt.
And how did Parker respond to this?
Parker knew how to solve the problem. He just eliminated the competition. Parker bought the lease on DeWitt's building and evicted him.
And how did he respond to being evicted?
He was livid. I mean, I know that would have made me mad. And if I was as shallow as DeWitt, that would have pushed me over the edge
Objection,
too.
Your Honor. Non-responsive. The witness has already answered the question.
Excuse me?
The
Restate
witness,
your objection.
non-responsive. The witness answered the question and she's going into her personal opinions.
The witness was simply expounding on her answer to make it clear to the jury how they would respond.
All right, we're going to direct the witness, if you would please respond to the questions. If you need to explain your answer, then you can explain it, but make sure that you answer the question first.
Yes,
Objection
Your
sustained, thank you.
Yes, Your Honor.
And what happened next?
Can you repeat the question, please?
What happened next? After the response from DeWitt, what happened next?
Well, after DeWitt got evicted, he was livid, and he just, in the moment, he simply responded with a threat. He didn't really act on it. It was payback sucks and that kind of thing. And I thought that the rivalry had ended, but unfortunately I was mistaken.
And how so?
Well, I was eating lunch at Carly's coffee shop one day when DeWitt walked in. I thought this was strange because DeWitt isn't the kind to be caught eating lunch at a coffee shop. Anyways, DeWitt walked in, looked around, and headed toward a man sitting at the end of the bar.
And what happened next?
Well, once DeWitt got to the man, he said two words with such impatience and venom that they immediately caught my attention. He asked, "You ready?"
And what did you gather from this conversation?
Well, before the conversation even began, DeWitt slid a substantial stack of money over to the man.
And what happened after that?
Well, after that, DeWitt, I'm sorry, can you repeat the question, please?
What happened after DeWitt slid the man money?
Well, after the man slid DeWitt money, they began talking, and they began talking about Parker.
And how did you know this?
Well, about halfway through the conversation, DeWitt said, "That dirtbag Parker's going to get what's coming."
And after you left, what did you do?
Well, after I left, I was processing what I'd heard and heading over to Sam's when I noticed the man following me.
And what did you do when you saw this man following you?
Well, it was the man from the coffee shop, so I turned around to get a better look at him, take stock of his appearance. But I didn't want to get caught staring, so I hightailed it back to my office to finish my article on the whole Parker DeWitt fiasco.
And did you finish this article?
Not exactly. Before I could finish it, DeWitt died. And that's when all the pieces started to fall together.
How so, Ms. Concord?
Well, the meeting between Addison DeWitt and the man from the coffee shop, who was later identified as Randy Jaqual, became crystal clear.
Objection, Your Honor. Speculation.
Can you set your roll, please?
Yes, Your Honor. This is Rule 602.
Your Honor, the witness is testifying from her personal opinion. She experienced these things. She's been around the DeWitt Parker Wire group because she's covering the story, and she's testifying from her personal opinion.
Your Honor, may be heard. In addition, this is an improper opinion under Rule 701. As opposing counsel just said, this is the witness's opinion.
I'm going to sustain the objection and instruct the witness, please testify of what you know from your personal knowledge, what you saw, heard.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
And why didn't you finish your article?
I didn't finish my article because the Miltonville Times decided not to after DeWitt died.
And did you publish your article after the murder?
Yes, I did. I published it on my food blog.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. Cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Conrad, you're a food reviewer, correct?
Yes, I am.
And while this fight between Ms. DeWitt and Mr. Parker was going on, you took it upon yourself to tell the story of these events, right?
I was assigned the job by the Miltonville Times, who I work for.
And as a writer, you obviously wanted people to read what you wrote, correct?
Yes.
And people did read what you wrote.
Yes, I'm very good at my job.
And obviously when people started reading what you wrote, as you just said, your opinions on the case, that might have influenced them, correct?
Well, yes, but it was not my opinions I was writing. It was my observation.
That's a yes to my question, right?
Yes.
Now, Ms. Concord, you're not a detective, are you?
I'm a food detective.
Well, you're not a police detective, correct?
No, I'm not, but my job is to evaluate the different restaurants in this town. And by doing that, I have to use my expertise and observations to collect them.
Thank you. But isn't it true that before today, you had no opportunity to look at any of the evidence that's being presented in this court today?
Yes, that's true.
But the more you thought about it in your head, you started to believe that Ms. DeWitt was the killer.
Not exactly. The more that I observed, like I heard the conversation between them. From what I observed, yes, I did.
Not exactly. You remember giving a sworn statement to the police in this matter, correct?
Yes, I do.
And up till now, you had any opportunity to change what you wrote. Is that correct?
I guess so.
But you didn't. That's correct, right?
I didn't what?
You didn't change your statement.
No, I did not.
Now, this is line 145. Please read silently with me as I read aloud. I didn't know what to think, but the more I thought about it, the more that DeWitt doing it made sense. So you did think about it, and you did come to this conclusion, is that correct?
Yes, from my professional opinion, it did.
Now, Ms. Concord, Sam was happy in many ways about this fight, wasn't he?
Objection, Your Honor. The witness cannot possibly know what Sam was feeling at the time. It calls for speculation.
Well, Your Honor, by the witness's own admission, she's a journalist. She covered most of the restaurants in Miltonville, and that extended to the restaurants on Miltonville Square, and that also extended to Sam Malloy. So at times, her coverage of this fight extended as well to Sam Malloy, and therefore, her investigation encompassed how she perceived Sam Malloy to be reacting to this fight.
Your Honor, the counsel is asking the witness to say how Sam felt, and she has a lack of personal knowledge on this fact. And pursuant to Rule 602, she cannot testify to this.
I'm going to sustain the objection. She can't testify about how somebody else felt.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor. Now, Sam's Old Town Tavern was more direct competition to Hole in the Wall than Audubon Pizza, correct?
Yes, originally.
That's my question, correct?
Yes, originally.
Now, you just testified about a lunch at Carly's coffee shop, but you're not exactly sure about the date that lunch took place, are you?
No, I do not recall.
So, if someone were to ask you today in this court, did that lunch take place on May 22nd or May 23rd, you would not be able to tell which one it was, correct?
As I said before, I do not recall.
And a few minutes ago you said Miss DeWitt slid a substantial stack of money across the counter to this man.
Yes, I did.
But you never got the chance to inspect that stack, did you?
No.
In fact, you were in a booth, correct?
Yes.
Facing the opposite direction,
Mm-hmm.
several feet away.
Yes.
And you were looking at all of this out of the corner of your eye.
Yes, and I could hear everything they said.
And even if it were money, you don't even know the denomination, do you?
Can you repeat that, please?
You don't know the denomination of that supposed money.
Can you explain what you mean by denomination?
Well, I'm just asking, you don't know that that stack was $1 bills, or that stack was $5 bills, or $100 bills, do you?
No, I do not.
All right. Now, you remember the police approaching you about information in this case, correct?
Yes.
And in fact, it was Detective Gordon, who just testified before you, who approached you.
Yes.
Now, did you tell, no, you didn't tell anything. Now, you just told the jury that Detective Gordon, you told Detective Gordon that Miss DeWitt slid something across the counter, correct?
Yes, I did.
But when you and Detective Gordon talked, I'm sorry, wrong question. But you didn't tell Detective Gordon anything about that money, did you?
No, at the time, I did not think it was relevant.
I'm sorry, you mean to tell the jury that on your direct, you said you told Detective Gordon about the money, but now you're saying that you didn't?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question, please?
Miss Concord, I'm asking you whether or not you told Detective Gordon about Miss DeWitt sliding the money across the counter.
I didn't say in my direct that whether I told Gordon or not.
Ah, but you didn't tell Gordon, did you?
No.
All right, thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you, ma'am. You can step down.
Thank you, Your Honor.
The state would like to call Sam Malloy to the stand.
All right, Mr. Malloy, please come forward. Ms. Malloy, please come forward.
Can you please state your full name for the record?
My name is Sam Malloy.
And how old are you, Miss Malloy?
I'm 60 years old.
Can you please tell the court about your prior working experiences?
Well, during high school and college, I went ahead and I worked at Joe's Sporting Goods. It was a great job, and I originally planned on pursuing my career in softball. But unfortunately, that went south because I injured my arm. So I decided to change my major to marketing because I decided that focusing on a major that would help me at my current career at the time at Joe's would be a good idea and would help me in the future. Now, Joe's was a great job. I got along well with all of my coworkers, and we traveled to various locations to meet up with other managers and other employees to figure out how to attract new customers. The job was going so great, I loved it until unfortunately it had to shut down.
And what did you do after Joe's shut down?
Well, you see, after Joe shut down, I started to really think about what the job had taught me. And what I realized that after it taught me a lot of things, I really cherished the fact that it taught me how to understand customers, how to have a connection with them, how to have a conversation with them. So I decided what's better than that than to open a new bar, open my own bar, And I did. It's called Sam's Old Town Tavern, and I'm very innovative with my own food and drink creations, which are very well known throughout the town, and people come to my bar for quality food and a good time.
And how well is Sam's Old Town Tavern doing?
Business at the bar is going great. We get a regular crowd most nights before and after shows. There's this comedy club located right upstairs, and it's very convenient. Business at the bar we get a usual, a normal crowd most nights. It's going great.
Did you know Mr. Parker?
Yes, I did. He was the owner of the Hole in the Wall Saloon.
And did you have any issues with Mr. Parker?
There was one thing, nothing major. He did kind of take over some of the parking, or all of the parking at the square. But it doesn't matter what I had to deal with him. Other than that, we were fine. Any of my issues were nothing compared to the issues between him and Addison DeWitt.
And what appeared to be the problems between Addison and Parker?
Man, those two are always going at it, fighting, arguing. They took the whole situation and tried to get the city involved and even took it to the internet. Like, I don't know. I don't know why they did that. It was Addison DeWitt who decided to undercut Parker on his beer specials. So she put up all these flyers around town, and she even put some on her deck, which not so long
Objection,
after it
Your
caught
Honor.
on fire.
This is a narrative answer.
Your Honor, Sam was just describing what she believed, what was happening during the time, and if you allow my witness to finish, it just attests to her credibility as a businesswoman, knowing what was going on with her competitors and like.
I have no problem with their testimony, Your Honor. I am just concerned about the jury listening to a monologue.
I'll overrule the objection.
Well, as I was saying, someone set fire to her deck with all the flyers on it not so long after. That's all I had to finish to say about that question, by the way.
Did there seem to be any other trouble between Parker and DeWitt?
Oh, yeah. I believe that their trouble, we all know that their trouble reached a peak when Parker bought out DeWitt's building. He really got inside DeWitt's head when he did that because...
Objection, speculation. How do we know whether Parker got inside DeWitt's head? How would Sam Malloy know that unless he was inside Miss DeWitt's head?
Which rule are you citing, counsel?
Speculation, Your Honor. And it's 602.
Response?
Your Honor, Sam, alongside Parker and DeWitt, was also a businesswoman, and she can attest to what competition was occurring. She's just saying that based off her observations, that what it seemed to be was that what Parker was doing was affecting DeWitt in a negative manner.
I'm going to sustain the objection. You can't speculate on how somebody else is feeling.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, well, I won't say anything about him getting inside of her head, but she did, like, a week and a half after he purchased the building, come over to my tavern, and let me just say she was mad. Like, she came up to me and she started talking about how we needed to start an alliance against Sam. Now let me just tell you that I wanted no part in any of their feud at all. I run my own business, they can do their own stuff. It's not up to me about what happens. But I told her, I'd think about it, but that was just to get her off my back. I don't want any part in it. And I didn't think anything further of the situation until the night that Randy DePaul showed up at my bar.
And how do you know Randy DePaul?
Well, he was a handyman, so he installed a new kitchen at the tavern while I was out of town, and I didn't directly meet him, like face to face until one night when he came into the bar.
And what was his behavior like the night he came in the bar?
He was shooken up, like he was nervous or like scared or something, like he needed some time to himself. So I left him alone, and I told Phoenix Buffet, she was a worker at my bar at the time, and I told her that she needed to keep an eye out on him in case if anything happens, He was ordering multiple rounds of limoncello explosions, and let me just tell you, that is a very alcoholic, like extremely high in alcohol, like it's a very strong drink, let me just say that. And he ordered food, but he was not eating it, so he was drinking on an empty stomach, and that's not good because that causes the alcohol to be absorbed faster. It's really not good.
And what was the extent of your interaction with Randy?
Later on that night, he called me over just to talk, and it's a friendly gesture for a bartender to go up and make some conversation with their customers. So I went over, and we had some conversation. Randy did buy me a few drinks, which I barely touched, and then he disclosed to me some unusual information.
And what information did he disclose to you?
He started talking about how he no longer had any financial issues whatsoever because Addison DeWitt had paid him a large amount of money to, take care of Parker. She contacted him over, well, first off, let me just tell you, he really described her, even right down to the New York accent and the Italian heritage. She had contacted him throughout the RedNet, and she had told him that she needed to take care of Parker and that she would pay him to do so. And she did, obviously. He had no more financial, troubles. She then disclosed to him that he would need to figure out, he learned from her where and when and how to carry out that task.
And what did Randy tell you about his plan?
Well, he told me that Addison had told him that he needed to wait in the alley outside of Parker's office, and he needed to wait there until Parker came into the office. Then he was to open the office door of Parker's with a code that Addison DeWitt had supplied him with. Then he was going to go in there and take care of the task that she had paid him to do.
And what did Randy do after he entered the office?
So he entered the office, right, and there was no sign of any alarm system. It was just Parker's dog, Rags, barking over and over again. We all know he took care of that. Then he went on and proceeded to find Parker's U-pad and tapped it.
Did Randy tell you anything else?
No, that was all.
And how has this whole ordeal had an impact? Has it had an impact on your business?
There was one situation. Phoenix Buffet, as I mentioned earlier, a worker at my bar, she quit right after Parker was murdered. She said she was too fed up with the drama, but honestly, she was the one who was intrigued most by it, talking about it all the time. And she worked with me most of the time, too, so I knew. And I don't know what she's saying about me out there, but she can't be putting me in the best light. I wouldn't believe any of it.
And Sam, did you have any direct involvement with the death of Arnold Parker?
No, not at all.
No further questions, Your Honor.
A single question, Ms. Maloney, we can all go home if you answer correctly.
I'll answer based off of my own experience.
Did you pay Randy Jaquan to kill Arnold Parker?
No, Randy Jaquan clearly stated to me that he was in no financial trouble due to the money that Addison DeWitt had supplied him with to take care of Parker.
So it's going to be difficult then. All right, let's get started.
All right, whatever you want.
So you discussed earlier in your direct about a bit of a mishap you had with Parker related to parking.
It was one situation, nothing major, but literally it was nothing compared to him and DeWitt's issues. They were always arguing. This was the only issue I had with him, but it wasn't even really an issue because really there was a comedy club located right above my business and it brought in such good business. We got a regular crowd most nights. It didn't affect my business at all.
Ms. Malone, I'm sorry to stop you. So that's a yes.
I'm saying that it's one issue, but there's nothing else. And it didn't even affect me.
Okay, yes. If you could just answer my questions and provide a brief
Well, I just
explanation,
did.
that would be dandy.
Yeah.
So these parking issues were never resolved, right?
Well, no, I did contact the police about it, but I mean, if they didn't want to listen to me, it doesn't matter. They're the police, they know what to do, and either way, it doesn't affect me. It affects extra business. I get my regular crowd most nights, and that's fine by me.
So they didn't do anything.
No, so that's okay. My business is still up and running, and it's doing great.
You mentioned that DeWitt and Parker fought on the internet, right?
They fought on the internet, they fought in front of the city. She even came to me to get me to get on her side to go against Parker, which I obviously said no to. I said I'd think about it just to get her off my back, but really, I don't want any part in their feud. I'm just a business owner, I'm getting my own business, and I'm fine with just sitting back and just letting them two work out whatever they need to work out. Frankly, they're just both really immature taking it onto the internet.
I'd like to put a small emphasis on short explanation. So you are aware of what Gulp is, correct?
Yeah, it's what they were both being so immature about. Literally, they pay so much attention to what these reviews say about them. It doesn't matter. As long as you're okay with your business and you're getting enough business and customers and you're doing well, then what does it matter?
So in other words, they were upset with the Gulp pages. And Gulp is a restaurant review site, right?
Yeah, they were upset, which is why I'd say it's immature. If you're a restaurant owner or any type of business owner, you should be proud of the business you run. As long as you're getting the amount of customers that you want to make it run fine, then I don't understand what the problem is.
Have you ever been on Gulp, Miss Malloy?
Well, my computer was logged into it a little while, but I don't really care much about the website at all. I frankly think it's really immature.
Have you ever reviewed other people's restaurants?
Yes, I believe that people have accused me of actually writing reviews or anything.
I didn't ask you. I asked you whether or not you did or did not.
I said that.
Objection relevance. What did the Gulp pages have anything to do with the murder of Arnold Parker?
Your Honor, may I respond?
You may.
If I were able to finish my line of questioning, you'll see later on in this trial that we allege that Sam Malloy fueled a feud between Addison DeWitt and R.L. Parker by commenting through a user named D. Chambers in order to attack both of their restaurants and pit them against each other.
Your Honor, the opposing counsel never stated that in their opening statement, and I still believe it does not have any relevance into the actual death of Arnold Parker.
Then overrule the objection and allow the question.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So ma'am, did you review Did you ever do any reviews on Gulp?
I never said anything in my statement about it, but I guess if my computer was logged in, I guess I did. But like, if that's what the facts say, then whatever. It doesn't matter. It's not that I wanted Parker dead. Why would I want a member of my own community to be dead? That's a person with a life, a family, and a business to run.
So if that's what the facts say, what? You're aware that D Chambers is the password for your Cisco account for your business, right?
Yes, and may I just add to that Phoenix Buffet, the worker, had access to my computer as well while she was working under me, which was a long time.
All
Let me
right,
just
fine.
say that.
Speaking of Phoenix Buffet, did you ever ask Phoenix Buffet to write in R.L. Parker's handwriting for you?
I'm 60 years old. I can't remember some stuff.
So you wouldn't remember that.
No.
All right. Let's talk briefly about Randy Jaquan. You mentioned a meeting you had with him, or an encounter, right?
I wouldn't say a meeting. He came into my bar one night and he was obviously ordering lots of limoncello explosions. He was drinking. and
So
he
you
had
met
some talk.
you met him as a stranger, right?
Well, I knew him previously, like I said earlier, if you were listening, that he had done some handiwork for me at the bar. He installed a new kitchen, but I was out of town at that time, so I never met him face to face.
Yes. So to you, he was a stranger then, right?
Yes, by face, yes.
All right.
Yeah.
And he, over the course of 3 hours, gave you a lot of information
Yes.
about the murder, right?
Yes, but let me just add that he was drinking multiple rounds of limoncello explosions. When people are drunk, sometimes they don't know what they're talking about. But then again, the information did seem kind of fishy.
And he told you about a door code that he used to get into the building of the hole in the wall to kill Parker, right?
Yes, the door code that, let me just add, that Addison DeWitt had supplied him with to take care of the situation. Who would do that? Addison DeWitt, that's who.
I'm not showing opposing counsel what's been marked as Exhibit 9. Your Honor, may I press the witness?
You may.
This is the door code, the hole in the wall, correct?
Sorry, I'm 60 and I forgot my glasses. I can't see them. It's Miltonville, Sicilian.
Objection, lack of personal knowledge. My witness has never seen this document before.
Your Honor, we
This
can see
code.
whether or not it's personal knowledge based upon whether or not Mr. Moore is able to answer my question.
You need to lay a foundation for the document.
Yes, Your Honor. This number is the door code that was given to Randy Jaqual by Addison DeWitt.
Yes, by Addison DeWitt.
So that is indeed what he used to get into the building, right?
Objection, lack of personal knowledge. My witness was only told what happened. She did not see what was given to him.
Your Honor, according to what Sam Malloy believes from what she heard from the hitman Randy Jaqual, she indeed is aware of the fact that this happened, just as the direct examination proved the same point.
She's objecting to the document that you're handing the witness.
Your Honor, I have not entered this document into evidence.
I understand, but you're asking her questions about it. Before you can ask her questions about what the document says, you have to have it authenticated and ask her questions about it. You can ask her if she knows what the code was.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Malloy, that is the code to the hole in the wall, correct?
Yes, that Addison DeWitt supplied Randy Jaqual, the hitman who killed Parker, with.
Yes, I think that's enough foundation. I now ask that Exhibit 9 be entered into evidence. Its authenticity has been stipulated.
Objection, lack of personal knowledge. My witness has never seen this before. She knows that Randy Jaqual had a code, but she does not know that that is what it was.
Your Honor, Ms. Malloy just said that she knew what the code was and that it was it. That is what she just testified to.
She hasn't, she said that yes, that's the code that Ms. DeWitt gave, but she did not identify the document that you continue to refer to.
Your Honor, we would need Randy Jaqual here himself to be able to identify exactly what the document, but this is what is alleged to be the card used.
I'm going to sustain the objection.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So you don't know if that's true evidence? You're not Randy Jaqual. You can't identify that.
Ms. Malloy,
Okay.
you agree with me
Where am
in the
I?
fact that that card was used to get into the back of the hole in the wall, correct?
Well, if you're saying it is, none of us know if that's the real quote unless if you're, sorry, not I said quote, I meant code, that was used to access to the office. Like, Randy Jabal himself would know, and the only other person who would know is Addison DeWitt. Why don't you have her come up and identify it if she's the one who supplied the code? That's what I'm saying.
I'm gonna caution the witness at this point. You need to respond to the questions that are asked and not continue to go on and on. Nor are you to direct other parties to do things. You understand?
Yes, Your Honor, I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
So we've established that Randy Jabal has worked for you, right?
Randy Jabal, yes, as a handyman.
But you maintain that this is the first and only conversation you had ever had with him, right?
I said that this was the first time I had direct contact with him. Face to face is what I was meaning to say.
Okay, here's another question for you, Ms. Molloy. Had you, before or after, had any other conversation with Randy Jabal outside of that night?
Yes, you keep updates on when a handyman actually does work for you. You keep updates on how that new kitchen system had been installed, when to install it, how it's running. He's a handyman.
Is that a yes?
Yes, it's a yes.
So you had spoken to Randy Jabal?
Over the phone to update about the kitchen installments.
So that brings us to the phone records. Ms. Molloy, you heard Detective Gordon's testimony, correct?
Yes, I did.
And you acknowledge that you called those 3 times to Randy Jabal's mobile phone, right?
Yes, from the company's number of Sam's Old Town Tavern to keep up with how the kitchen system that he installed as a handyman was being run, like how it was working.
But you said you hadn't made contact with him directly.
I said directly as in face to face, like I had never set up a meeting with him and just to talk like face to face with him.
So he didn't confess to a stranger then, he confessed to someone that he had talked to before, right?
Over the phone and never met.
But not a stranger,
Well,
like you
I
said.
wasn't even there when I would say, to answer your question first, yes, but I was never even there at first physically when he did the kitchen work. I was out of town.
Miss
We
Malloy-
never actually physically met.
Miss Malloy, did you meet with Randy Jabal on the date of May 18th?
Well, was that the night of the murder? Was that? I can't
No.
remember. I'm 60. Okay. He came into the bar the one night, the night of the murder, and that is the only time I had physical contact. Well, not physical, like I had seen him face to face. That was the only time I saw him.
Your Honor, I ask for an additional minute due to the witness's more than brief answers.
Response?
Objection, Your Honor. The opposing counsel has now run out of time.
Well, I'm gonna actually grant your request because the witness continues to go on and on, and is not necessarily responsive to the questions that are being asked. I've granted 1 minute.
I ask again, did you meet with Randy Jabal on the date of May 18th?
And I say again, no, I didn't. I face-to-face met with him only one night. That was the night he came into the bar the day of the murder.
Did you plan to have Randy Jabal meet with Addison DeWitt?
Well, Addison DeWall, not Addison DeWall, sorry. No, I didn't. Like, I mean, well, actually, yes, I did, but I don't see how that has any information. It's a handyman. He's a handyman. He did some work for me. So, of course, if he does some good work, I'm going to recommend him to other business owners. In case
Have you ever asked Randy whether or not you had taken care of it, and whether he had taken care of everything?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Did you ever ask Randy Jabal whether you had taken care of everything?
What do you mean by taking care?
I'm using your words, Ms. Moy. Did you not say that?
Well, I don't understand the context that you're using it in for the question.
A yes or no would be rather. Whether or not you said those exact words.
Well, I can't understand your question. I can't answer if I don't understand.
Did you say the words, had you taken care of everything? That seems very simple to me.
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor. His minute has expired.
It's expired. Mr.
Your Honor, mind if we didn't answer my question?
I said at the end, yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you, ma'am. You step down.
Thank you for your time, Your Honor.
Any other evidence from the prosecution?
No, Your Honor.
Did the prosecution rest?
Yes, Your Honor, the prosecution rests.
The defense ready to call your first witness, please.
The defense calls Spooky Stewart. Oh, I'm sorry. Phoenix Buffet. So,
Phoenix Buffet,
Yes.
please come forward.
Could you please introduce yourself before?
Hello, Miltonville Square. My name is Phoenix Buffet. I'm 32 years old. I'm ready to rock, you know what I'm saying? And I'm a musician. If you would like to hear my little sample of the music, if that's okay.
Oh, it's certainly not okay. So is a musician your job?
No, it's not. I'm a waitress at the fine establishments of Audemars Pizza, Sam's, Old Tavern, and Golden Wall. Well, used to be.
So have you noticed any of the owners of those three establishments involving themselves in competition in any way or emotion with competition?
Well, if you're mentioning, like, I'm sorry, could you rephrase the question?
Yes, of course. Did you observe any competitive behavior between the three owners of those restaurants?
Well, of course, when running a business, you know, you become competitive and when you get emotional. And all three of them were emotional, as in the way, you know, have her frustrations at times. But Sam Malloy kind of dealt with his emotions a little bit differently than the three competitors.
What do you mean by that?
Well, Sam, he would let things bottle up. He would let things stew and brew.
Objection, speculation. The witness cannot know what Sam does mentally, internally.
Your Honor, Ms. Buffet is only testifying to what she observed working under Sam Malloy.
To sustain the objection, you need to lay a proper foundation as to how she knows the information she's testifying to.
What observations could you make of the behavior and emotional appearance of Sam Malloy?
Well, Sam Malloy, since I've been working for him, I'm the one who keeps up with his inventory, her inventory, I'm sorry. She drank a lot. She drank like a fish. It's like alcohol was her next best friend, I'm sorry to say, but that's the type of behavior that Sam, you know, perceived to.
So did Sam do anything with all this emotion building?
Well, Sam went ahead and...
Objection, speculation. She cannot know what Sam did, what actions he committed because of his emotions.
The prosecution wishes I'm happy to rephrase the question. It'll just be a little more broad.
If you rephrase the question, please.
What did Sam do prior to the murder of Mr. Parker?
Well, Sam, I'm sorry, can you restate the question?
Yes, I want to be a bit more specific. Did Sam do anything, did you notice Sam engaging in any gulp pages prior to the murder of Mr. Parker?
Well, I went into his office.
Objection, leading question.
It's not a question, I suggest no answer.
Which is typically a leading question. Oval means answer the question, please.
Well, early April, to answer his question, I had saw a computer in Sam's office, and it was open to some gulp pages. And there was reviews on these gulp pages, and there were nasty reviews coming from this user called D Chambers.
Does D Chambers have any significance to you?
Well, of course, D Chambers is the password to our Cisco account, which is our inventory account.
And is Sam aware that you saw any of this?
No, he wasn't. But, you know, after I had came out of the office, he started asking me some questions about my time with R.L. Parker, the time that I was working for him.
And what did he ask you specifically?
Well, he was asking me, you know, did I ever have to write R.L. Parker's signature? And of course I said that I did because, you know, R.L. Parker didn't want the hassle of going back and forth with errands. And I had to practice his signature when the time being for necessary needs.
And what did he ask you after that?
Well, then Sam asked me about if I could write write some sentences, a few sentences in R.L. Parker's handwriting. And, I asked what for, I didn't know the reason why. And he told me quickly, never mind, I won't get you involved.
All right, I'd like to go back to the gold pages. Now showing Exhibits 6, 7, and 8, opposing counsel. Your Honor, any first witness?
You may.
Could you please identify these three documents?
Yes, this is the 3 gold pages. This one is for Sam Town Tavern. This is for Anamana Pizza, and the gold page for Hole in the Wall.
I now ask that Exhibits 6, 7, and 8 be entered into evidence. Thereof, has been stipulated.
No questions, Your Honor.
Admitted without objection.
Can you please point out what how many stars D. Chambers gave each restaurant on each page?
Okay, well, D. Chambers gave Hole in the Wall a 1-star rating. And D. Chambers gave also another 1-star rating for Anamana Pizza. But here on April the 2nd, 2017 and May the 18th, 2017, D. Chambers gave 5-star ratings to Sam's Old Tavern.
Thank you, Ms. Buffet. I'd like to talk now about the Anamana Pizza flyers that were used to light the Anamana Pizza deck on fire. Did you ever see those inside of Sam's restaurant?
Well, yeah, I kind of saw the box of Anamana Pizza flyers in Sam's office, and there's just a whole box full of them.
Were they there the day after?
Objection relevance? What did the flyers in Sam's office have to do with anything in relation to this case?
Your Honor, if I was allowed to finish my line of questioning, the point would be that Sam Malloy used the Anamana Pizza flyers to light the Anamana Pizza deck on fire in order to fuel the feud between Addison Dewitt and Arnold Parker.
Your Honor, these flyers were posted all over town. Just because some are found in Sam's office does not mean he's responsible for this.
I'm going to overrule the objection and allow the question.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I'll ask again. Were these flyers there the day after the fire?
No, they were magically disappeared. And I kind of wonder how that happened.
Oh, I'm sure. Did Sam sell anything prior to the murder of Mr. Parker?
Well, I do believe that Sam was selling some basketball paraphernalia, and for his own means of money, I'm assuming, because, income was getting a little bit slower.
All right. Did you ever see where Sam and Randy Jaqual interact?
I actually did. There were a few encounters. The first encounter was when I didn't know who Randy was. I didn't know this guy by Adam. And May 18th or so, a guy came in, Randy Jaqual, and there was a conversation. That parts of the conversation I heard, but what I heard that was shocking to me was that Jaqual Randy was so desperate for some money that he was going to hire himself out as a hitman because he needed the money.
Did they talk about a meeting with Addison Dewitt?
They actually did. Sam Malloy, she had mentioned that, trust me, reassuring Randy that, this is going to work like a charm, that they were going to have a meeting with Addison and that they were going to use an asking price for bait.
Did anything else happen in that meeting?
Well, the last thing I heard was Sam had, this evil, maniacal laugh, that nobody could ever forget. It was just terrible. It's like something that came from a Disney film movie.
How did Sam appear to you after that meeting?
Well, Sam actually seemed pretty excited, and I was excited for him. Didn't know the reason why, but he was kind of, happy after the situation.
You mentioned you had seen them interact other times. Could you describe those other times?
Oh, well, the second time I heard the conversation that Randy and Ms. Sam Lloyd were at the Sam's Old Tavern, and Randy had just came in crazed about something. He was like, overwhelmed, dramatic, and it was something that was bothering him. He was nervous. And, Sam had to calm him down and wanting to know if he'd taken care of everything.
Did they talk about anything else?
Well, Sam also said that after, that if Randy had taken care of everything, he would pay the rest of his commission, to them.
Thank you, Ms. Ufe. No further questions at this time.
Good evening, Ms. Lupe.
Good evening.
Do you remember issuing a witness statement?
I do.
And you corroborate everything you said in it?
I do.
So you have a degree in communications, correct?
I have a degree in communications and a certification in music and entertainment.
And you somewhat do well as a promoter, right?
I would like to consider myself as a music promoter. As I said before, if anybody wants to hear my music.
You somewhat do well as a promoter, correct?
Objection, Your Honor. What is the relevance of whether or not Phoenix Ufe did well or somewhat well as a promoter?
Your Honor, I'm just asking this question to attest to the witness credibility of how she describes her job and what she does for a living.
Your Honor, I still see no relevance.
It's okay, I can move on.
All right, very well.
And you haven't gotten your break as an artist, right? As a musician.
I'm sorry, can you repeat?
You haven't gotten your break as a musician, correct?
Well, I'm expecting for my break to come soon, if that's what you mean, but I'm a great musician. I just...
Okay, thank you. You work for Parker, DeWitt, and Malloy, right?
I used to work for...
Okay, but you chose to work for Sam until just recently?
Yes.
Earlier in your doc examination, you said that Sam was financially, correct?
The income was coming a little slower.
So did you know that Randy DeCall asked for a certain amount of cash to perform this task, the murder?
No.
Okay. And you described Sam as a drunk, correct?
He drinks like a fish. It's not...
So to you, he drinks all day long?
Yes, he drinks all day long,
Then
glass
Mr.
after
Fay,
glass.
Are you with him every hour of every day?
No, but I do work with somebody, and when you work with somebody, you consider them as co-workers, and you develop that relationship with other, your other community and co-workers, and you probably consider them sort of as family. But, Sam was my business.
So, just to make it clear, you cannot possibly know what Sam does throughout his entire day, her entire day. Correct.
I can have some idea, and
But
I
you
know
cannot
myself.
know for sure what she does throughout her entire day. Correct.
No.
Okay. You wait tables, correct?
I am the waitress, I am the inventory girl, I do it all.
So you tend the bar,
I tend the bar,
and you do whatever needs to be done.
Whatever means necessary to get the bills paid, try to further in my career as a musician, as an artist.
Thank you. You handle the basic office functions at Sam's Old Town Tavern, correct?
Yes.
And would you say that basic office functions include scheduling?
Yes.
Would you say they include keeping up with records?
Keeping up with records, inventory, you name it all.
And reminding your boss of upcoming deadlines, correct?
Deadlines or ingredients that he probably can't remember because of his, alcohol. It's not something that somebody should, shun away, but it's something that you need to address and probably get help.
Okay, thank you. And you claim that Sam is forgetful, right?
Sam is forgetful, like I said, with the ingredients. Like he will put twice in. If she would forget at times, and I would be the one to put her back on track.
Okay, so just make sure, according to like once it was forgotten to pay a supplier and also ingredients were ordered twice, correct?
Yes.
Okay, you have the password to the account where you order food and supplies, right?
I'm not knowing what you're referring to.
You have the password to the account where you order food and supplies at Sam's Old Town Tavern, correct?
What account were you mentioning?
The account where you order food and supplies from.
Which is,
Would it help you to refresh your memory by missing your statement?
no, I'm trying to understand what you're mentioning.
I'm saying, you have the password to the account at Sam's Old Town Tavern to access food and supplies, correct?
Are you mentioning the Cisco account?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, I do.
Okay, and you have this password so you're able to perform your basic office functions, correct?
I do.
And is paying a supplier necessary in a business?
Yes, in every business, you do what you need to run your business.
Okay.
I would expect that the competitors, all competitors are all
Just
business.
give me 1 second. And is keeping track of ordering ingredients necessary as well?
Objection, Your Honor. What is the relevance of this line of questioning?
Your Honor, she's claiming that Sam is forgetful. The prosecution's purpose is to try to prove that Sam is responsible for all this, so I'm just attesting to her credibility of claiming that Sam is a forgetful drunk, which she is not, if they will allow me to further our line of questioning.
Your Honor, I don't see the connection between this line of questioning at all.
Objection overruled.
Yes, Your Honor.
And so since you had access to the account, you were aware of important food and supply orders, correct?
Yes.
And so it was not only Sam who was responsible for these mistakes, right?
He is responsible for his establishment.
However,
which means that
she is not the only one who is responsible for these certain mistakes occurring, correct?
I would guess not.
So Sam's not really as forgetful as you claim.
Well, she is, you can't, expect somebody to run your business for you, or you can't expect some other people to just
Okay,
run
that's
your
not what
business.
I'm asking. I'm asking, Sam is not really as forgetful as you claim, correct?
I don't think so, but no, Sam
Well,
is a little forgetful at times, and majority of the time, and she drinks, and
Okay, thank you. And so in these situations, as a person responsible for basic office functions, and as a person who claims that she does whatever needs to be done, you didn't really do what needed to be done, correct? You did not do all that was needed to be done in these situations.
well, that's not what I'm trying to aim for here. My degree is in communications,
It's
and
your job, what
Objection,
you're
Your
being
Honor.
paid
My
for.
witness is not being allowed to answer the question.
And I'm gonna direct counsel, you need to let her finish, because you cut her off twice now, so you're gonna have to let her finish her statement before, unless you have a legal objection to make.
Okay.
You need to let her finish her answer to your question.
In your statement, you said you overheard a conversation between Randy and Sam, correct?
yes.
And the conversation was where Sam said, "Did you take care of everything?" Right?
Yes.
But however, you cannot accurately hear what they were saying, right?
The parts that I heard were that she did, I'm so sorry, that taking care of everything, and then if Randy taking care of everything, he would pay the rest of the commission to Randy.
Okay. And you were working when this conversation was occurring,
I was,
and there was a dinner rush when this conversation was occurring?
yes, so that's why I heard most of the parts, and the parts that I heard was that Sam Lloyd would take care of everything, that Sam wanted Randy to take care of everything, that if she had, Randy had taken care of everything, and that she would take the rest of the commission to her.
So, Ms. McCray, do you expect the jury to believe that you could accurately hear a conversation between two men in a crowded bar while you were working?
I guess so. I mean, I'm the only one who's taking care of the business and listening to conversations and
That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking, while you were working, Do you expect this jury to believe that you could hear accurately a conversation between two men in a crowded bar while you were serving the dinner rush?
Well, I'm not oblivious to what my owner is doing, and I'm not oblivious to my surroundings, if you're trying to mention that. But, like I said before, I did hear that part where Sam had said, did you take care of everything, and I will pay the rest of the commission to you.
And in your statement, you said that you couldn't really hear what was going on after those certain specific phrases were said, correct?
I said that around May 18th or so, I couldn't hear most of the part of their conversation when I didn't even know who Randy was, and that.
That's not what I'm asking, Ms. Buffet.
Well, what are you
I'm
referring to,
asking that
counsel?
in this statement, where you were saying that the conversation between Randy and Sam, where they were saying he had taken care of everything, you said that you did not accurately hear the entirety of the conversation. So are you telling us that you accurately heard the conversation between Randy and Sam and knew what they were specifically talking about?
I'm saying that the part that I heard was actually true, yes.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
Any other questions for your witness?
No redirect, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Step down.
Sorry, the defense calls Cookie Stewart to the stand.
All right, Ms. Stewart, please come forward.
Good evening, Ms. Stewart. Will you introduce yourself to the jury?
Hello, my name is Cookie Stewart, and I am a promotions director for Hairpin Brewery.
What does promotions director mean?
Well, sometimes I try to go around and see if I can find some new customers, and I go around to the customers that we currently are selling our craft beers to, and we give promotional products such as umbrellas, t-shirts and coasters, and sometimes my uniform consists of a bunny costume.
And what location did you promote Hairpin Brewery products at?
It used to be our biggest clients were Anmar Pizza and Hole in the Wall.
Do you know who the owner of Automata Pizza is?
Yes, Edison Do It.
Do you know who the owner of Hole in the Wall is? I think it was, I'm sorry.
That would be R.L. Parker, the dead guy.
And Ms. Stewart, did you sell the same beers at both locations?
No, we did not. We found that it was better for business if we split the beers. 3 for Hole in the Wall and 3 for Anmar Pizza.
What 3 beers did you sell at Automata Pizza?
Well,
Objection. This question is completely irrelevant. The flavor of beers has no relevance to this case.
Your Honor, I'm simply establishing her familiarity with the products that she sells, as well as how Hairpin Brewery products, their company benefited from the beers being split in both restaurants.
And how is that relevant to who was part of the murder?
Well, Your Honor, the relevance of how their beer was split between the two would refute the argument that Hairpin Brewery profited at either one of the locations more. And that is relevant to this case because we are discussing the competition on Miltonville Square. I'm happy, however, to move on. May I move on?
You may.
Now, I take it that both Hole in the Wall and Automatic Pizza were located on Mildenville Square. Were there any other restaurants on Mildenville Square?
Yes, that would be Sam's Tavern.
And do you know the owner of Sam's Tavern?
Yes, Sam's Tavern was owned by Sam Malloy herself.
Is Sam Malloy in the courtroom today?
Yes, she is.
Can you point her out?
That is her right there. With the long hair.
Well, let the record reflect that the witness has correctly identified Sam Malloy.
So noted.
Now, were you familiar with Ms. DeWitt?
Yes, I was familiar with all our clients.
Were you also familiar with Mr. Parker?
Yes, as I said, I was familiar with all of our clients.
And how did Ms. DeWitt and Mr. Parker get along?
Well, that relationship was tense, to say the least.
Now, Ms. Stewart, were you in the courtroom when the testimony came about a deck fire?
Yes, I was.
And do you know about that deck fire?
A bit.
And what, if any, effect on how Ms. DeWitt and Mr. Parker got along did that deck fire have?
The objection, lack of personal knowledge.
Well, Your Honor, the witness had almost daily business interactions with the two, and she just testified that she was familiar with both of them and how they got along. Therefore, I believe that it would be reasonable that she would be able to see the difference between how they got along before and after the deck fire.
Your Honor, Ms. Stewart was familiar with Ms. DeWitt and Mr. Parker, both in professional sense. She worked with them separately, not together. So she would have absolutely no knowledge of how they got along because she worked with them separately.
Well, Your Honor, may I be heard?
You may.
Well, the witness just testified that she was familiar with both of them, and the opposing counsel didn't object.
She did testify to that, but you need to establish or lay a foundation with the witness on how she would know the effect that the fire had on the parties in their relationship.
Well, Ms. Stewart, how often did you do business with Hole in the Wall?
I would say pretty often.
And how often did you do business with On a Pizza?
About the same.
So, may I ask again, how did the two get along after the deck fire occurred?
Objection, Your Honor. This witness has no knowledge of the personal nature between these two witnesses, Ms. DeWitt and Mr. Parker. Her relationship was strictly professional, business only, with both Ms. DeWitt and Ms. Parker. She cannot testify to the relationship between the two. One second.
Your Honor, once again, the witness just testified that she knew how Ms. Parker and Mr. Parker and Ms. DeWitt got along. That is their relationship. Now, I'm not implying any causality from the deck fire. I'm simply asking her chronologically, before and after, if she could notice any difference in their relationship. And she just testified that she was aware of their relationship and how they got along. I fail to see how this is lack of personal knowledge when she just testified.
It's not lack of personal knowledge. I think it's you're not asking the proper question. In your response just now, you stated that she can testify about whether or not she noticed a difference. I haven't heard that question yet.
All right. Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Stewart, did you notice a difference in how Ms. DeWitt and Mr. Parker got along after the deck fire?
Yes, I had.
And what was that difference?
Well, it had gotten a bit more tense, well, more than a bit.
Now, I'd like to move on. Did you ever have an occasion to visit Sam's Old Town Tavern?
Several.
And for what reason?
To see if I could convince Sam to sell some of our beers.
So is it fair to say that you wanted Sam Malloy as a customer?
Yes.
Now, Ms. Stewart, did you happen to go to Sam's Tavern before this deck fire?
Well, just leading question. Council's asking a question that implies answer.
Well, I'm simply asking me by yes or no question. She can respond.
Which is a leading question, Your Honor.
All he asked was whether or not she'd been there before. We'll not overrule the objection.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So did you have occasion to go to Sam's Old Town Tavern before the deck fire?
Yes, I had.
And while you were there, did you notice anything out of place in Sam's Tavern?
Yes, I had seen a stack of Anamara pizza flyers.
Miss Stewart, if I showed you a copy of those flyers, would you be able to identify them?
Yes, I would.
May I approach the witness?
You bet.
Miss Stewart, do you know what this is?
Yes, it is a Anamara pizza flyer for 5-cent beer night.
This is a true and correct copy of those flyers you found in Sam's Tavern.
Yes, it is.
Oh, Your Honor, I now ask that what has been marked as Exhibit 5 be admitted into evidence. Its authenticity has been stipulated.
I would like to object to relevance. This flyer has absolutely no relation to this case. It was a flyer that was gone around town. We've established that, but it has no relation to whether or not the house was killed. All Parker was responsible for his death.
Your Honor, my line of questioning was concerned with the fact that those Automata pizza flyers were there, and through this we would be able to support the defense's argument that Sam Malloy used those Automata pizza flyers to light the deck fire at Automata Pizza.
I would like to say again, they were all over town, and also would like to say that that would be speculation, just to say that the flyers were there. It's speculating that it was used to cause the fire.
I'm going to overrule the objection.
Now, Miss Stewart, you say you saw a stack of Automata pizza flyers in Sam's Tavern. Do you know how Sam Malloy got those?
Yes.
Objection, lack of personal knowledge.
Well, Your Honor, the witness is about to testify as to the fact that Sam Malloy told her how he got those.
I would take that objection.
So, let me ask again, how did Sam Malloy get those flyers?
Well, when I walked into Sam's, Sam noticed me looking at the flyers and had told me that him and Randy had taken them down from his side of the square, and that Randy had found a stack out back in the parking lot.
And who is Randy?
As far as I know, he's just some guy at the bar.
Is this Sam's bar?
Yes.
Now, what if anything did Sam say to you when you were there?
Well, she had told me that this so-called feud or rivalry is good for business.
And when next, if any time, did you visit Sam's Tavern?
Just after the deck fire.
And was Sam there?
Yes, she was.
Could you describe his demeanor?
Sam had been grinning from ear to ear,
And what did Sam say?
well, she had told me that those flyers had come in handy after all.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
So you dressed up as Bunny to promote the hairpin parade, right?
That is correct.
And would you agree that you love your job?
Yes, I do quite enjoy my job.
And you work closely with the deceased, Arnold Parker?
Yes,
As well as Addison DeWitt, the defendant?
yes.
Would you say that you're fond of your relationship with Parker?
I tried to keep things.
Objection, date.
Cite the rule, please.
This is Rule 44B.
Would you like me to rephrase?
Yes, opposing counsel could rephrase.
Okay, I'll proceed to rephrase.
Go ahead.
How would you describe your relationship with Parker?
I would describe it as strictly professional.
And you dressed up as the bunny in Parker's bar, right?
Yes, I had.
And Parker would allow his customers to badger you, like make fun of you while you were wearing your suit.
Yes, but what is the point?
I mean, Parker found it amusing. He thought it was funny.
Objection, speculation, and lack of personal knowledge.
I can move on. I'll move on with my line of questioning.
Very well.
But DeWitt never allowed his customers to badger you when you wore your suit, did he?
Objection, facts not in evidence.
Your Honor, the facts are, the evidence is in the statement that Ms. Stewart has signed earlier.
Your Honor, can I get a line number?
On 92.
Your Honor, could I ask the opposing counsel to repeat the question they just asked?
DeWitt never allowed his customers to badger him. As Parker allowed his customers to badger him, and DeWitt did not.
Well, Your Honor, as far as I know, this line 92 does not address that. It simply says that Ms. DeWitt did not think the bunny suit was appropriate. So this is both not an evidence and it's also an unfair extrapolation.
I'll move on to my line of questioning. This is my next question. Is that DeWitt didn't like the suit?
DeWitt had asked me specifically not to wear it.
I mean, you didn't like the suit either. You were trying to retire it, weren't you?
I didn't mind the suit. In fact, I enjoyed Jimmy Carver.
But you tried to get Sam Malloy as a client, didn't you?
Yes, I had hoped that maybe we could possibly establish a relationship,
But that didn't really.
business relationship.
Yeah, but that didn't work out, did it?
If I had gotten a little bit more time, I could have convinced Sam to sell some of our wonderful craft beers.
In your direct examination, you mentioned that you saw at Sam's old tavern that Sam had a box of flyers and he had taken them down with Randy. Is that what you testified to?
That is what Sam had told me.
And you know that Sam competed with Armada Pizza and Arlo Parker's Hole in the Wall for business, right?
Just because they had competed doesn't mean that I couldn't get him as a client. Parker and DeWitt had also competed, and that didn't stop our craft beers from our business from booming.
That wasn't my question. I asked if you knew that they were in competition.
Yes, they were in competition, but the competition doesn't restrict our business.
Okay, I wasn't asking about that, but it's not unusual for competitors to take down their flyers of their competition.
Objection, Your Honor. Speculation, and it's also argumentative.
Your Honor, I'm not asking the witness to speculate. I'm just asking if it is unusual for competitors to take down flyers of one another.
Well, Your Honor,
It's not called for a speculative answer.
she is asking for the witness to speculate about all competitors generally, and that she cannot do. That is outside the scope of her testimony.
Your Honor, I'll move on to my question.
Very well.
Yes.
You're aware of the feud between Armada Pizza and Hole in the Wall.
Yes, there had been a rivalry.
And the feud really affected your business, didn't it?
if one business suffers, then yes, we do suffer as well, but generally speaking, we had good business.
But, I mean, the feud really affected DeWitt, didn't it?
It had.
And DeWitt got behind on her payments, didn't she?
Hence the reason why she closed down.
That she got behind on the payments for the hairpin brewery.
Yes, she had, but since she had been a customer for a while, we granted her leniency.
Oh, do you grant leniency quite often?
We.
Objection, Your Honor. Facts on evidence.
Your Honor, I was just asking the witness in her role as a business promoter if she, and as her role as a business promoter, she should know that. I just wanted to know what she does in her business.
Your Honor, there is nothing in either the witness's testimony or the evidence of this trial to suggest that, and this is also an unfair extrapolation. I'm sorry.
Is there anything in the record about her letting him get behind?
Yeah, there is.
How is it an unfair extrapolation to ask if that's a common practice with other business owners?
Your Honor, I believe I misunderstood the question. I will.
Withdraw your objection?
Yes, I'll withdraw my objection.
Very well.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
So, I can go back. DeWitt got behind on her payments for the hairpin brewery.
Yes, she.
Objection asked and answered.
Oh, Your Honor, I was just making a question clear for the.
I just asked to remind her because of the length of the objection where they had left off, so I'll allow it.
Thank you, Your Honor. Could you continue to ask the question, please?
Sorry, I had forgotten again.
Yeah, DeWitt got behind on her payments for the hairpin brewery.
Yes.
And you didn't really mind, did you?
As I had said before, we had granted a bit of leniency, just until DeWitt had gotten back on her feet. We would have asked her to make the payments that we had previously given her leniency.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Timekeeper?
There is a time discrepancy of more than 15 seconds.
A time discrepancy of 1 minute and 15 seconds?
More than 15 seconds.
More than 15, discrepancy between the two of you?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, so can we pause for a moment? All right, the parties are made aware that there is a more than 15-second time discrepancy between the timekeepers.
May I ask to get a time?
For my record of her cross-examination, it's to the point of 13 minutes and 1 second from the total time.
13, 17. Is there anything else to it? May I move on with my examination, please?
Well, we've noticed that there's the time discrepancy, so I'm going to ask if either side would have an objection to going with the one that has been the longer time, which would effectively shorten by 16 seconds.
Yes, Your Honor. We have no problem allowing the extra 15 or 16 seconds for the prosecution's cross-examination.
The time difference is noted, and would you agree with that from the prosecutor?
Yes, Your Honor.
We'll allow it. May continue.
So I'd like to ask, so we've established that DeWitt has gotten behind on her tab for the hairpin brewery, and you have given her leniency on paying her bills.
As I had said, we would have asked her to pay what was owed from previous payments later on, as soon as she had gotten back to a stable point.
Okay, so given DeWitt's falling behind on payments, you wanted Automata Pizza's clientele to grow, and you wanted to sell more of the hairpin booth.
Yes, and it was my job to get more clients.
But you specifically sympathized with DeWitt with all the hardships that you went through.
I had felt sorry for her, but I don't see how it's important.
At one point, DeWitt's competition bought her building. I mean, you felt really bad for her.
I mean, wouldn't you feel bad if one of your clients had been having a hard time?
I mean, you don't want DeWitt to go to prison now, do you?
Objection, relevance.
Your Honor, I'm just trying to establish the witness's relationship with DeWitt and how she, I'm just trying to establish witness bias in this line of questioning.
And, Your Honor, this is also argumentative as well.
I think it's a reasonable question to ask. I'll overrule the objection. And
Yes, sir.
Ms. Stewart, if you'd like, you can bend the microphone a little bit towards you so you don't have to lean forward every time. See how they move? Just make it a little more comfortable for you.
So I just curiously asked, you don't want DeWitt to go to prison now, do you?
I do not believe that DeWitt is the one who had hired Randy.
I'm sorry, could you please answer yes or no to my question before giving an explanation?
I do not want someone who is not guilty to go to prison.
Okay, I mean, DeWitt owes you a lot of money, though. I mean, after her business failed, and she's behind on her tabs, she owes you a lot of money.
So,
As a businesswoman, wouldn't you want her to pay you back for all the money that she has not paid you?
we had no more business. Like, her business had closed down, and unfortunately, the leniency did not pay off.
So even after her business failed, you haven't haven't asked her for her money on the money that she owes you for the beer that she sold you?
No, because she is no longer a business owner, so
So just because she wasn't your business partner didn't mean that she didn't owe you money. She still owes you money. Yes or no?
she did, but we couldn't charge her any longer because her business had closed.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Any redirect?
May I ask for a time check?
Time?
As of right now, defense is at 16 minutes and 26 seconds, and prosecution is at 16 minutes and 1 second.
As of now, defense is at 16:31. As of prosecution is at 16:19.
No need, Your Honor. The witness may be excused.
Thank you, Mary. Step down.
The defense called Addison DeWitt to the stand.
Ms. DeWitt, please come forward.
Can you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Yes, my name is Addison DeWitt.
Addison. May I call you Addison?
Of course.
What's your occupation?
Well, I used to own Automata Pizza, but I'm still unemployed ever since that day.
And how did you come to own Automata Pizza?
Well, pizza, runs in my blood. My parents, they came straight from Sicily to New York.
They opened up their own restaurant in the 70s. Unfortunately, they had to close it down, so I'm familiar with the process of owning a business and having to close it down. But actually in '88, with my ex-husband, Stefan, we opened up our own pizzeria in Miltonville.
And what were some of the other businesses on Miltonville?
Right next door was Sandy and George's place, Carly's coffee shop. On the other side was the Hole in the Wall, and then, of course, there was Sam's Old Tavern.
And were you familiar with the owner of the Hole in the Wall?
Yes, that was Arlo Parker.
And what was your relationship like with him?
I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I didn't get along with him, but the fact that he's dead and that we're here today is heartbreaking.
And how did your relationship with him affect your business?
You know, the second he came into the square, it was like the dynamic of the community had changed. He brought this excessive competition, and sometimes it did get a little bit personal.
And how was your business affected?
Well, it started out pretty strong, you know. I ran the pizzeria for a long time, but then over the summer of 2016, these Gulp reviews started coming in, and they had these unwarranted reviews, stuff about the health critiques, even though our grade never dropped below a 91, and it was just random damaging stuff. And after that, you know, the crowd started thinning out. I guess they got scared by the reviews, and I just had to struggle to find promotions and help us stay afloat.
And is this why your business closed down?
Well, that damaged the business, but you know, I managed to work out some of the payments with Pookie for the beer, and then the landlord was also very accepting and understood, and so we worked out payments together as well. But you know, eventually after the deck fire, the landlord had to replace the deck and everything with the insurance company, and they ended up selling, and that's when Parker bought the lease, and Parker was the one who took my lease on May 19th, despite the fact that I paid him my rent.
And what did you do after that?
Well, after that there wasn't really that much left to do. He gave me until the 31st to close, so I started preparing for the closing party, but I went to Sam in confidence. We weren't best friends, but we had both been on the square together for a long time, so that's why I went to her, maybe thinking she could help me or, you know, support this in any way. I know I had to close, but I wanted to see if there were any other options, and that's when she told me that there was possibly a man named Randy that she could set up a meeting with.
And did she?
She did, but to be honest, I forgot that she had even mentioned Randy until Phoenix brought me a note later saying that Sam had said to meet Randy at Carly's coffee shop.
And what happened at that meeting?
Well, I went because, you know, why not? I didn't really have any other options with my restaurant. Once I got there, I saw a man sitting near the bar, so I went up to him, and he was Randy. I wasn't really sure what he did. Sam just said he was sort of a man of all trades or something like that. I thought he might have been. Maybe he would have been a lawyer and could have helped me legally with the lease or something. But let me tell you, he flipped over a piece of paper demanding $10,000. And $10,000, I mean, my business was failing, and I had no idea who this man was. There was no way I was going to give it to him, and I knew that something seemed off. So I played it off, and I left, and I never contacted Randy again.
And what did you do after that?
After that, I had no option. I had to close Automata Pizza, so I started preparing.
And how did you prepare for this?
Well, I was setting up a few days before the closing, and that's when Gordon came in, and he asked me about Parker, and I didn't know why, but suddenly Parker was dead, and everything just was happening so quickly, and I was at such a bad time in my life. I decided, you know, I wanted to go see my family. I wanted to just embrace my mother and let her tell me that everything's going to be okay. So instead of closing the restaurant, I went to Ohio to visit them, and my
also had to stay longer than expected.
Earlier in this trial, you heard the testimony of Jaden Gordon, and she said that you came to her at the police department and knew about the murder. Is this correct?
No, I had no idea what had happened to Parker. I mean, the fact that someone in my own community, 2 doors over, was murdered is shocking to me. And if that had happened to him, who else could it happen to? I didn't know anything until Gordon came to my door that morning and told me of the news.
You also heard Rockland Concord say that at that meeting with Randy DePaul, you slid money to him. Is that correct?
No, he slid a piece of paper to me, but I mean, $10,000. I didn't have that type of money. I was so close to filing for bankruptcy, but I really didn't want to.
And did you hire Randy DePaul to kill Arlo Parker?
I didn't do this. I don't know who chose me to be the scapegoat. But, I mean, I'm going to be honest, and I've admitted that I didn't like Parker. But if words hurt him, then I apologize to everyone I've ever hurt in the past. But I didn't do this.
No further questions.
Cross, Mr. Garrett?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, Mr. Wood. Now, you don't have a healthy respect for Parker, do you?
Like I said, we didn't have
Please
a
answer
good
yes or no, you may
relationship.
elaborate.
I'm trying to answer your question, Counsel. We did not have a good relationship, and at times it was hard not to hate him, to be honest.
And you're not shy in voicing your opinion on Parker, are you?
No, I'm being completely candid in court today, as I was in my statement.
In fact, you hated Parker, didn't you?
Like I said, it was hard not to. He just got so personal at times, but you know, at the end of the day, it was just competition.
Okay, and he bought the lease on your building on May 1st, correct?
Correct.
And then you paid he said if you didn't pay, he would kick you out. Is that true?
He said I had to pay up, otherwise something would happen. So I did pay up. I went to his office and I gave him a check for that month's rent, and he closed me down on the 19th anyways.
And after the 19th, this made you furious, didn't it?
Of course, wouldn't it make you furious if you had poured your heart and soul into this business and someone just came in and took it away? But, you know, I was upset. I admit that. I said some things I shouldn't have, but my parents had closed their business. I knew that stuff like this happened, and that's why I just started preparing for the closing. There was nothing else left to do.
And you paid all your employees on May 19th?
I had to. I was shutting down, and I had to get everything together.
And you met with Randy DePaul on May 22nd, correct? You met with Randy DePaul on May 22nd?
I believe I met him on the 23rd.
Okay, the 23rd. And he said he wanted $10,000 for his services, didn't he?
He just demanded $10,000 out of nowhere. I mean, I didn't know this man. I didn't know what he did. So I didn't give it to him, obviously. I don't have $10,000 to give to some stranger in general, and that's why I chose to never contact him again.
Well, on May 23rd, you withdrew $12,000, correct?
Right, like I said, I was so close to filing bankruptcy, and I had been through this with my parents before. I was terrified that the bank was going to freeze my assets, and I just wanted to save what I had.
Okay. Now, after the day of the murder, Detective Gordon came to your house, correct, to question you.
Well, I was preparing and setting up for the celebration, and he came to me.
And when you asked the murder, you said you knew nothing of the murder.
I didn't. I
Well,
mean,
the very first thing you said, the very first thing you thought was that this could be Randy, wasn't it?
well, the only reason that I thought that was because Randy had said he was going to do something to get back at Parker, and who else would do such a thing? I mean, Sandy or George next door with the coffee shop? Of course not. And I knew Randy was sketchy. Something just seemed off. But
that was all just speculation at the point, so I didn't have anything to say to the detective.
And you fled the city after the detective left to Ohio.
I did not.
So you didn't go to Ohio.
I did not flee. I visited my parents in Ohio.
And this was a
and I
one-way ticket
came
you
back.
bought? Mr. Witt bought a one-way ticket?
No, I came back.
But you bought a one-way ticket.
I bought a ticket on the 22nd, but I had the return. I came back to Miltonville.
No further questions.
We have redirect?
Yes, Your Honor.
Time?
Right now, we are at 23 minutes and 32 seconds. For defense.
We are at 23:37.
Did the police force you to come back to Miltonville?
No, like I set up to only be gone for about a week with my manager, and I got all of that cleared up. But then, once I got there, my father, he grew so ill, and my sister, she has 5 kids. She couldn't take care of her parents, so I had to stay. But after, he got a little better, I came back.
No further questions.
There's no recross, Your Honor.
Thank you, maybe you step down.
Your Honor, the defense rests.
Very well. Closing arguments?
Your Honor, the state waived so I could go first in the closing argument.
A pillar of sand. That's how the prosecution described the evidence we were going to bring to you today, ladies and gentlemen. But that's not what I want to talk about right now. Let's talk about the prosecution's case. Because let's keep in mind, the prosecution is the one who has the burden of proof. They have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Addison Dewitt hired Randy Jaqual to kill R.L. Parker. Now, I see the prosecution's case built on 3 pillars. Number 1, Addison Dewitt and R.L. Parker hated each other. And they've pretty well established that. They've established the fact that Addison Dewitt, who came up here and told you that she didn't like R.L. Parker, and we're well aware of the fact that they were competitors. It's not crazy to say that they hated each other. But think outside this courtroom, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe in the courtroom, these are very powerful attacks to use. But think about your real lives. Think about every person you know. Are you friendly with each person you know? I'm sure not everyone. Every person has people that they dislike. I personally have people that I dislike. It's a part of the real world. It's not pretty, but it's true. And it's not evidence, ladies and gentlemen. It's a distraction. Their second pillar is based upon the investigation of James Gordon, and in so the testimony of Robin Concord. First, James Gordon clearly did not have a thorough investigation. Keep in mind that James Gordon decided not to investigate the wife or the girlfriend of R.L. Parker. Now I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen, R.L. Parker had both a wife and a girlfriend. Instead of looking into their bank records, their phone history, Gordon decided to take the lead that they gave them. They were the ones who talked about the feud, and that was backed up by Sam Malloy. Now, Detective Gordon not only listened to them, but listened to Sam Malloy, as well as Robin Concord. Now, let's talk for a moment about Robin Concord. Robin Concord is a food blogger. Now, what is a food blogger? There's one thing we can all agree on in this courtroom. A food blogger is not a very popular journalist. When was the last time you read a food article? Unless you really like food, probably not very recently. But Robin Concord doesn't want to just be a food blogger. Robin Concord wants the story of the century, like every journalist, to have a story that means something to everyone. And Robin Concord wrote about the feud, a simple feud between 2 competitors of a restaurant, and it turned into the possibility of a murder. What is Robin Concord going to do? Without evidence, back up her story. And that's exactly what she did here today. That's not evidence. Now, Robin Concord took the testimony of Sam Malloy in order to go after Addison Dewitt. Now, Sam Malloy claims to have had a conversation with a stranger, Randy Jaqual, inside of her restaurant. But as the trial went on, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you saw, it wasn't a stranger meeting a new person. Randy Jaqual had phone conversations with Sam Malloy, 3 of them, that Detective Gordon did not analyze or look at or think anything of, even though Detective Gordon thought that Sam Malloy seemed to know a little too much. The truth is that Sam Malloy came up to you today and lied to you, just like Sam Malloy lied to Detective Gordon. The truth is Sam Malloy met Randy Jaqual 3 times, possibly more. The truth is Sam Malloy used onomatopoeia flyers to light the deck of onomatopoeia on fire in order to light a flame that would create a feud between Addison DeWitt and R.L. Parker. And that flame was fueled by the gulp pages that Sam Malloy used the name D. Chambers under to attack both gulp pages. The truth is, the prosecution's case is not built upon those 3 pillars any longer. It's built upon the pillars of lies, deceit, and manipulation. The truth is, ladies and gentlemen, Addison DeWitt did not commit this crime, did not hire Randy Jaqual. Sam Malloy was the one who set up Randy Jaqual, and all the prosecution has done today is defend Sam Malloy when the truth started to peek out in this horror show of a trial in which no evidence against Addison DeWitt was brought up of work. The truth is, you have the choice between lies, deceit, and manipulation, and truth, evidence, and justice. We ask that you find in favor of the defendant. The buck stops with you. Thank you.
On May 26, 2017, 9:35 p.m., R.L. Parker was intentionally and maliciously murdered by Randy Jaqual under the encouragement and procuration of Addison DeWitt. No, Addison DeWitt did not physically pull the trigger, but in hiring Randy Jaqual to do so, Addison DeWitt is all the same responsible. Now, in Addison DeWitt, you're looking at a woman who lacks morality, a woman who lies without compunction, a woman who resorts to murder to settle a personal vendetta. Now, the defense has claimed that Sam is responsible for this, that Sam paid Randy, but they've also said that Sam was in financial trouble. These 2 facts simply do not add up. Sam could not possibly pay Sam and been in financial trouble at the same time. The defense has fabricated facts saying that Sam burned down the deck when they have no evidence to prove so. Now, on May 22nd, 2017, Randy Jaqual and Addison DeWitt met to agree on the taking of R.L. Parker's life. And after this meeting, the defendant bought a 1-way plane ticket to Ohio. She bought a 1-way plane ticket because she had no intention of coming back. Now, let me remind you that on May 1st, Parker bought the lease on DeWitt's building. And on May 5th, DeWitt paid the rent for the month of May. But still, Parker terminated the lease. And this infuriated DeWitt. She threatened him saying that if you shut me down, you will get hurt. And she acted on this threat. Now, on May 26th, Randy Jaqual went into the office of R.L. Parker and murdered him under the encouragement and procuration of Addison DeWitt. And after this murder, he called Addison DeWitt to tell her that the job had been finished. You've heard from Sam today. You've heard her testify to a conversation she had with Randy after this murder. And in this conversation, Randy confessed to the murder of Randy Jaqual, of R.L. Parker, and Rags. In this conversation, she gave the intricate details of this murder. And in this conversation, Randy Jaqual labeled Addison DeWitt as the woman who hired him to do these things. And the very next day, the detective questioned Addison DeWitt, And when questioned, the defendant lied, saying that she knew nothing of the murder she had just committed. And when the detective left, she sought to destroy the one piece of evidence that could connect her to Randy Jaqual. She took a note given to her by Randy and burned it to ashes in her trash can. And after this, she fled to Ohio on a one-way ticket. As I said before, she bought this one-way ticket because she had no intention of coming back. Now, when two people come together and agree on a legal act, a conspiracy has been birthed. And from that point on, an act by one is an act by the other. So on May 22nd, when Addison DeWitt and Randy Jaqual met, a conspiracy was established. And from that point on, an act by Addison was an act by Jaqual, and an act by Randy Jaqual was an act of DeWitt. So after May 22nd, every single heinous crime that Randy Jaqual committed, Addison DeWitt is also guilty of. Now, the facts of this case are simple and clear. Addison DeWitt had a deep love for her company, her business, Automatic Pizza. Of 30 years she poured her life into, but she had a deeper hatred for R.L. Parker. And when Parker canceled the lease on her building, she acted on that hatred. She met with Randy, hired him to kill Parker, and then fled the city. Now we have fulfilled our burden of proof, and we asked you, the jury, along with the law given to you by the court, that you find Addison DeWitt guilty of malice murder, that you find her guilty of felony murder, that you find her guilty of aggravated assault or cruelty to animals. The decision you have before you is clear, and to let this woman go free would be injustice. Thank you for your time.
Your Honor, had I been able to object, I would have objected to Sue's facts non-evidence. I can name specifically people.
I'm going to assume you're referring to the burning in the trash can?
Yes.
Understood.
We ask that those be struck from the record.
Be stricken from the record.
Your Honor, if I had been able to object, I would object to the fact that he said Sam burned the deck of Addison DeWitt. There's no evidence of that in this case.
It's noted, and I understand your objection, Mr. Presley. However, I think the implication was brought out with the flyers, the location of the flyers, and that there was a subsequent fire that was set using those flyers. I think that is a fair argument that can be made by counsel, so I'm going to overrule your objection.
Okay, also, Your Honor, I'd like to respond to his objection. In DeWitt's statement on line 230, says, I found the note Randy gave me after dinner and burned it in my trash can.
And I understand that. However, none of that was brought out during DeWitt's testimony. So I understand that that's in your record of the mock trial, but that's nothing that was presented at the hearing.
Yes, Your Honor.
And that's what I based my ruling on.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. All right, if I could have counsel and all witnesses stand up, please. Let's everybody give them a big round of applause. You guys did wonderful. We're gonna recess briefly. I'm gonna remind the scoring evaluators not to confer with each other prior to coming back to order in court, please. Oh, will somebody open the door for me, please? Thank you. Please be seated. Just a few things. Again, my name is Angela Duncan, and so I just want to tell you guys a little bit about me. I am a Gwinnett County Magistrate Court Judge. I've been a magistrate in Gwinnett County since 2004. I know that y'all think I was like 14 when I started. I've been around here for a while. I'm also a city court judge in the city of Chamblee, and I've been there since 1999. I truly love what I do. A couple of years ago, 2 years ago, in 2016, I was selected to be a full-time magistrate. So I no longer have a law practice or sit in all the different cities that I did. And it's really because I have a passion for what I do. I love what I do. Some of the attorneys that are in the room, even including 2 of the 3 that are over here, actually practice law in front of me. And I've learned from them both as a lawyer sitting up here, but also when I was an attorney practicing. And so to see you guys come in and do what you do, I want to say just across the board, all the kids, you guys that acted as the attorneys, you did better than some of the attorneys that are in front of me on a daily basis. So, and I mean that, and that's really cool. And I could tell your level of preparation and your knowledge of the facts. You also made huge, huge efforts on the proper way to introduce evidence, which there was a little struggle with here and there, but you guys did a really good job, and I was very impressed with that. My critique would be this, and I want y'all to listen if you guys move on from here, okay? 2 things. Cite the rules when you object. You guys didn't do that. There's not a bailiff or attorney in here, so I can't put her in jail for a fine. But cite the rules when you guys object. And then my biggest critique for you guys, and this goes for both sides, when the other side objects, don't give in to it. You guys all would be like, oh, well, okay, I'll withdraw that question, which is sometimes appropriate, but I want to see you guys stand your ground a little bit more and justify why you're asking the question that you're asking, instead of withdrawing it or backing down. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? Yes, no, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay, so that would be my biggest thing, is just like when you were asking questions and they objected over there, you gave in a little too quickly. Make them earn it. Make them cite a rule. Make them, make that objection, and that happened with everybody. So just if you guys move on from this level to the next level, know your numbers, and then make them earn those objections. Don't give in too quickly. Witnesses, you guys are great. I really enjoyed the extrapolating, even though I know some of it was frustrating. I liked when you guys did that. I liked watching how you guys played off of that, and that was really appreciated. The acting, I really thought you were going to cry. So that was really, really good. And so with that, I'll be quiet and let you hear from counsel. Ms. Friedman, you want to go first?
Yes, start us off. Oh, okay. I'm Sally Friedman. I practice in front of the judge. I hope I'm one of the lawyers that isn't one she referred to that isn't prepared and is too nervous in front of you guys. I was really impressed with how comfortable you guys seemed. Some of you were a little bit nervous, but you kind of got used to being in the courtroom and making your arguments, and it's about owning the courtroom and knowing you're right and wanting to tell your story, and I thought you did a really good job with that. I will mention one little thing. Some of us in the courtrooms are over 60 years old, so you don't want to play on to the fact that we're so tottering and we can't see or hear. Because, yeah. And so I've been doing this a while, and it is amazing when I see you guys and how hard you work and how good you are, because you're a lot better than I was for a long time. And it's a fabulous business. It's wonderful. You get to defend people who need your help. The thing that a lawyer does is a lawyer helps people. That's our job. And to learn that skill and to learn how to help people that need your help is a wonderful trade. I loved being a lawyer. Some days not as much as others. But I love doing it, and I love coming here and watching you guys, and I thought you were all excellent. Amazing. If you come and watch court, which you're always able to do, you'd be surprised how good you guys are.
Thank you. Kate?
All right.
My name is Kate, and I'm the lawyer that does not practice in front of the judge. I do corporate transactional work, so I stay away from the courtroom. I stay in the office. I'm in clients' offices a lot. I do mergers, acquisitions, things of that nature, and I do litigating to these folks and my husband. He's also a litigator. And one thing that I'll say that I'm sure that you guys hear this in these competitions, you've heard it from the judge and one of our panelists, everyone's saying, oh, you guys are actually better than a lot of real lawyers. And I was never exposed to any kind of courtroom experience or mock trial, anything like that, before actually being in law school. Once I was in law school, I had to figure out what kind of lawyer I wanted to be, right? Like starting from scratch with no background, no lawyers in my family. And I worked for a judge on the Court of Appeals one summer down in Atlanta, and part of that, I attended a ton of oral arguments. And I attended a lot of oral arguments at the Supreme Court level as well. And even at those levels, it is shocking to see that you guys really, really are better prepared than some of the lawyers at that level, and I would say more eloquent than some of the lawyers at that level, and really passionate. And I would say that those of y'all that are passionate about this don't lose that, because it's something that you can, I think, really see in someone's practice if they're passionate or if they're somewhat jaded and they lose that spark that all you guys have. So,
Thank you.
Last but not least, I'm Kevin Grover. I do plaintiff's personal injury work, and I previously was a bit of a general practitioner, so I've done a lot of criminal defense, I've done a lot of domestic. I've been in front of Judge Duncan many times. She's one of the very good judges we have here. You guys did great. You guys have futures as lawyers or actresses if you want them. And it was very impressive how prepared you guys were. I'm going to give you guys some constructive criticism because that's the only way you learn. What Judge Duncan said was absolutely correct. If you think you should get that, if you think you should win the objection, fight for it, okay? On the other hand, sometimes you ask a question and you know that, that was not the right question. You asked for the witness to speculate, or you asked for them to give some kind of hearsay that you don't have an exception for. If the other side objects to that and you're going to lose, just go ahead and say, I'll withdraw that question and move on. Because, when you try and defend the question that you're not going to win on, and then you end up, after it gets argued a few times, saying you're going to move on, it just looks a little weaker. And I do it all the time, ask a question, the other side objects, and I know, I shouldn't ask that question, let's just move on. Make sure, you guys should look at the facts that you really want to get in, like those facts that you talk about in opening and the ones that you plan on talking about in closing. Make sure you get those facts in. Even if you're going to run out of time, make sure you get those facts in. I think there was one fact on both sides that didn't come into evidence, and that can be important. But I know it's tough. I know it's stressful seeing those timers, and you guys had to deal with a lot of objections and a lot of times when time got taken away from you. So it's not easy to deal with, and I'm just giving this all as constructive criticism. Again, you guys did a really good job. You guys were very prepared, and I'm impressed.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? And all the participants, the kids, I want you guys to stand up one more time and turn around. Stand up, turn around. Now, y'all clap your hands for all those people that are sitting out there that work so hard to get you guys. Not the kids in the back. All right, thank you guys. We're adjourned.